Today's episode has an extended cut, available on Patreon or my main channel's membership for as little as $1. Check the links in the description if you want to find out more.
You know, Connor, I really didn't want to say this, but I have no idea where we are.
No, me neither. This doesn't look like Norwich.
This isn't the room we usually record in. Like, what happened?
Oh, you're right. Sorry, I was a little bit more worried about the outside, but like, now that I think about it...
Well, don't worry, the curtains are closed. We haven't got to look at that for at least another 3 hours.
Well, where the fuck are we?
I think we're lost.
Oh, shit. Oh, damn, I've just demonetized us.
What?
Well, probably not. People get sensitive about this because apparently, like, YouTube will pick up swearing within the first minute.
Oh, no.
I've been lucky that almost all of my mainline content doesn't have swearing in the first minute, but I think the actual thing is 7 seconds.
Well, we can wave goodbye to the 50 pence we're going to make of this blistering episode of our premiere podcast. Well, the list goes on.
Exactly. The list goes on as a show that has the guts, the will, the drive. We don't give a fuck if we get demonetized because we make pennies off this.
To speak a little more openly, to let you peek behind the curtain once again, we actually lose money on this show.
Yes, we do.
We have to pay for the art, and it's substantially more than we make of the actual episodes.
I imagine this one will be as well, given who has been booked in for this one. Ooh, very talented Copenhagen artists.
Which isn't a tease because they will have looked at the art when they clicked on the episode.
Yeah. Will have faded in well before we'd...
but in this bubble world in which we exist, the art isn't real yet.
It's not. We don't know what it's going to be.
For what? For what game, Connor?
Oh, well, have you not read the title?
No, I haven't. It's not up yet.
Oh, right. Okay. But the game we are playing is the beloved classic. If you know this name, you know it as a glorious, wonderful, spectacular little cult classic of a game, Lost Planet 2. Lost Planet 2 isn't very good.
What?
Yeah.
Come on, don't give it away.
Well, I'm sorry to say that this might end up being our most controversial episode so far. Because even with other games where we've had like a little bit of a back and forth or we've been a little bit harsh in it, it's usually been games that not many people look on super fondly. But Lost Planet is a game that I did look upon super fondly.
Yeah.
And then we revisited it for the list because I thought, you know what, Ash? We're playing some good stuff at the moment. Yeah. We're playing some stuff that we haven't touched in a good while. Let's revisit Lost Planet. I remember having fun with that game. And time certainly marches on, doesn't it?
Yeah, because we're now taking a trip back to the chronological order of the list, having taken a brief diversion into Crash Bandicoot's Wonderful World.
Oh, yeah.
Because we're now going back to a game which we played in sequence, which is Lost Planet 2.
Yes, yeah. Well, I do like to preserve the chronology of the list as it goes, so I wanted to do this after we did our most recent episode. It's been a good time for the show for the colour orange, gotta say. A lot of that in this game. One of the only colours, really.
One of two colours in the game, yeah. Orange and blorange.
Oh, God. So what went wrong? Why are we so bitter about Lost Planet 2, Ash?
Yeah, we're bitter about Lost Planet 2 because we had expectations for this game that were savagely crushed by its actual level of quality.
Yeah. It's been a shame. Our personal history in terms of actually playing this was we used to play the multiplayer demo on Xbox Live Arcade a lot, didn't we?
We did, yes. It was a wonderful time. And it was a really, really effective demo.
Yeah.
Mostly because they chose the best level in the game.
They really did.
The quality level of which is never reached or even closely reached by any other part of the story. Which is a real damn shame.
I know even one of its biggest set pieces, the Sandworm, doesn't quite live up to it. Just because the way that Lost Planet 2 sets itself up is that this is a game that advertises itself as, shall we look at the back of the box?
Oh, yes. My favorite tagline of all time.
A war too big to fight alone. Kill big. Word shared by the Sonic fandom during the mid-2000s. Lost Planet 2 prides itself on these big boss fights with these gigantic monsters. You're playing as a bunch of little guys with little machine guns, but then you can pick up big oversized weapons and you go and you have these big mech suits that you can pilot, and there's all kinds of stuff that you can use to go and take down these enormous monsters. This is maybe 1/7 of the game.
Yeah, it's a real shame because at its best, the game promises something that I think at the time wasn't really that common, which was massive scale boss fights in multiplayer with huge, exciting enemies. But it just doesn't do that for most of its runtime.
No,
and honestly, even some of the encounters with those monsters aren't very good.
Yeah, it's a real shame because, I mean, for one, the monsters themselves feel very video gamey, which I kind of want because, no duh, it's a video game.
This is a very video gamey game.
But at the same time, I don't find a massive number of their mechanics and ways you kind of figure them out to be that spectacular. The fight in the demo, the salamander, is one of the best ones they could have shown because the salamander is a gigantic black creature with glowing horns all over itself and about 6 legs. And you can like shoot the legs off to slow it down. You could aim for it on the outside. And even if it swallows you, like whole, if it bites at you and swallows you, you can go inside of it. You fight the little creatures inside that are effectively acting as its like antibodies.
Yeah, you're like passing through its digestive system.
Yeah, and you can shoot it in the heart as you're going by. And it's like a really dynamic, awesome like showcase of what this game's potential was. But most of the bosses are otherwise, it's got a glowing bit on it. You gotta shoot that.
For like 20 minutes.
For 20 minutes, yeah.
So enjoy.
Yeah. We really should, just talk about the context of the game itself. Like, what was it doing at this time? What was the year? What was happening on the market?
Well, Connor, as the world's most prolific video game historian, don't check. Let me tell you about it. So, Lost Planet 2 is a third-person shooter released by Capcom, our favorites, our sponsors. Yeah, well, we hope so anyway. We've said enough nice things about them at this point.
Yeah.
For the PlayStation 3, the Xbox 360, and the Windows computer.
Is it on PC?
It is on, well, it was on PC.
Oh.
It was for games for Windows Live, so it barely worked back then, and now it's completely inaccessible.
Crap.
I think a few years ago, Capcom put out a statement that was like, we're looking into it, and then they just never got anywhere with that.
Oh, where have I heard this before? Dear, oh dear.
It's truly the gift that keeps on giving, isn't it, games for Windows Live?
Oh, definitely, yeah. I mean, people who are fans of my mainline show know that Games Windows Live locked Dawn of War 2 behind itself for quite some time, and as a result, a lot of people didn't get to enjoy that game. I didn't get to enjoy that game because of Windows Live.
So this game is a sequel, might be shocked to learn, to Lost Planet Extreme Conditions, which I believe was an Xbox 360 launch window game.
It was really close to that time.
It was very close to the launch, yeah.
It was a single-player game where the idea was that you were on this frozen planet fighting these beasties and the machinations of this big corporation called NEVEC.
Yes.
Which I think stands for something like New Venus Extraction Company, something like that.
Yeah. And the most interesting fact about Lost Planet Extreme Conditions is that no one has ever played it.
The best-selling game that nobody has played. You know, it's a bit like the PSP, the best-selling console that nobody ever seems to have.
Yeah. The only through line, the only onboarding for Lost Planet is you play the Salamander demo and go, oh, bitch, and that was so cool.
Yeah.
And then you play Lost Planet 2, you don't go back to 1.
Yeah. Well,
We've actually got Lost Planet 3 on the list, but not 1.
yeah, we do. Well, that's the thing, because Lost Planet 1 is a single-player venture.
Is it?
Yeah, there's no co-op.
There's no campaign?
Yeah, no, it was something that was apparently introduced newly to Lost Planet 2. It was a big selling point of this game.
Well, no wonder this one's got all the attention then, because that's a pretty huge feature of this game, I feel.
Yeah, this is the one that everyone says is the best one, and as a result of that, it's the only one I ever bothered to play. and that it does make me slightly curious if the others are way worse, or if they're better in ways I wouldn't have anticipated.
Yeah, if you're one of the 5 people who have played the first Lost Planet game, please get in touch and let us know, because we'd be curious to hear about it.
And if you are one of the 15 people who have played Lost Planet 2, I am really sorry for our mood in this podcast. I swear we're not like this all the time. Only one of us is like this usually.
We really liked Crash Banuka.
I loved Crash Banuka.
Yeah. The thing is about Lost Planet, Connor, is that obviously we have our own personal history with this game, but I also find this game incredibly fascinating, completely separate from its actual mechanics and story and things like that.
Oh, yeah.
Because I think for me, this game is massively representative of a time in video game history during the 7th generation when Japanese video game developers were really trying to westernize their games to make it appeal to like the Call of Duty audience or the Halo audience.
They were. This does feel like them taking the Monster Hunter formula, gutting most of the stuff that makes people like Monster Hunter, and trying to westernize it. Like, it's got a multiplayer mode, it's got perks, effectively, multiplayer shooting, like a PvP, and that sort of thing. That's something I've got a lot of notes on, as it were. It is fascinating. I mean, hell, I'm pretty sure it's got just a worse version of Gears of War's running.
It does have a worse version of Gears of War running, yeah.
Yeah, for context, this is a third-person game. If you're wondering, we obviously haven't talked about mechanics. For all we know, this could have been a fucking, city simulator.
Or like a match-free puzzle game.
Yeah, I would have loved to see this as a match-free puzzle game.
No, friends, it came out for the Xbox 360, so it was a shooting game.
Yeah. And that's the thing I remembered fondly about it, and the thing that's kind of let me down.
I actually think the main Capcom figure we can point our finger towards, accusingly, in a Phoenix Wright style, is Jun Takeichi, who is a veteran at Capcom. He's been there basically since the start, since Street Fighter 2. And he's mostly responsible these days for the Resident Evil games. Like, he was the executive producer on Resident Evil 5, and Resident Evil 6, and Resident Evil 7. Like, he's been kind of the power behind the throne for Resident Evil for a very long time, and he's got his fingers all over this game.
Wow. I mean, that explains why this game has so much to do with Resident Evil 5 in it, doesn't it?
It does, yeah.
I have a particular set of memories with this game.
Yeah, feel free to share. This is a safe space.
This occupies a really weird set of memories for me, which is what I call the Saturday morning malaise memories. Growing up as a teenager, my kind of routine with when I actually played video games was pretty much always either in the evening coming back from school, or it would be early in the morning, maybe for an hour or so, on a weekend before I had to go do something else. Usually a Saturday morning, I'd either be outside, or I would be going to see a friend, or I'd be going into the city. Something would be happening.
Yeah.
But there would be those occasional weekends where I'd have nothing to do, and I'd be like, I'm kind of bored. I don't know what the fuck to do. I guess I'll turn on my Xbox and do more Xbox. And this is one of those games I played a lot of solo by myself.
Yeah, I believe this is where our paths diverge, isn't it? Because I never actually bought Lost Planet 2 following the release of the demo.
No.
I kind of got my fill from that one boss fight and never went on to play the full game, whereas you had the actual full experience.
The Saturday morning malaise isn't a good feeling.
No?
I share its memories with things like watching Transformers Revenge of the Fallen and being so bored that I had to open an Xbox Live party chat and talk to people while I was watching it because that film fucking sucks.
Oh dear.
Or experiences like trying to figure out Gary's mod on my overheated laptop and just sitting there and being like, what am I doing? What do I want to actually do in this sandbox game? I've got no fucking clue what anything is.
I mean, my reaction might speak to the level of idleness that I have in my life, but that sounds honestly kind of cozy. But those memories sound really sweet.
In a way, I just have much better memories of gaming during my teenage years. Yeah. I think the thing with Lost Planet is that despite these memories, there was a lot that I had forgotten, evidently.
That's what I mostly want you to know about this game before we talk about its actual mechanics and levels, is that this is a game that's very squarely rooted in the 7th generation. And I'm sure you can all picture in your mind what that time was like. And you can all envision the exact vibe that I'm going for.
Oh, yeah. No piss filter. That's one thing in its favor.
Against it.
Against it? Are you a piss filter aficionado?
I'm just saying, Resident Evil 5, piss filter, tens of millions of copies. Lost Planet 2, no piss filter, no one's ever played it.
Shit, you're right.
Not once.
Well, let's get into the meat of it, the thick of it. I think the thing to start off with when it comes to Lost Planet is that first immediate feeling you get as soon as you've gone through all the menus and you've watched through the cutscenes and you're actually starting to play the game, which is when you immediately start taking control of the game and you get that feeling that you've described about how, a game ain't gonna be good, where you're just like, oh no.
Yeah, you move the character once, you move the camera once, and you go, oh, fuck, damn it.
Yeah, you're just
I'm not gonna have a good time here.
It's not great.
It's very, clumsy, I guess I would say.
Yes.
The characters that you play as, there isn't just one protagonist in this game, you play as a wide range of nameless goons, basically. They're all very, what's the parlance of the day? Thick? They're all wearing very heavy armor, and they move very, very rigidly. For instance, when you run, you can't actually turn very much at all while running. Yeah,
it's super, super stiff.
Yeah, stiff is the right word. Yeah,
you're just stuck on a linear path of just sprinting ahead. It's really not a good feeling.
It's compounded by a bunch of weird design decisions as well. Whenever you switch weapon, the character has to stop moving for you to switch. So you press Y and they hit stop walking, and then you switch to the next gun. It's really, really flow interrupting.
If you feel like they're not cumbersome enough, you can put on the super armor that makes you even more cumbersome, and it's just a hell of a thing.
Yeah.
Or you can pilot a vital suit, which is the name that they use for the mechas in this game.
Yeah.
which, do feel suitably heavy and like stompy and that kind of thing.
I think the game feels more like a mech game when you're in one of those, because you are in a mech. But the stiffness feels appropriate.
Whereas when you're actually a player character, I mean, you got big things that are coming in to go and attack you, and you don't have the sort of somewhat modernized avoidance movements that you would get in a game.
Because I think you do have a dash forward if you click in the left stick while running, or something like that. But I don't think you actually have iframes on that move. It just moves you. But if you get hit, you still get hit.
I would say I actually had to switch off of the default controls.
Really?
There's a few different control styles, and I just looked at the default controls and I thought, this is going to screw up all my muscle memory. I had to switch to control type B, which lays the buttons out a lot more like a normal shooter.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Because from what I can recall from my playthrough, which I did recently, LT is throw grenade.
Yeah.
RT is shoot. LB and RB are pan the camera.
Yeah.
Like 45 degrees left or right, which I never use because why the fuck would you? Like if it was like a quick turn, that may be more useful, but it just turns you a little tiny bit.
See, I think there is a way to get a quick turn.
Well, I didn't consult the options closely enough, apparently.
Yeah. Resident Evil 5.
Oh.
Come on, can't this game win you back some way, Ash? Please?
If the game was Resident Evil 5, then maybe.
Oh, yeah. Honestly, if this game controlled more like Resident Evil 5, but it had these ideas on it, it would be a lot better.
I think if, like Resident Evil 5, the enemies in this game were designed around your movement, it would feel much better to play. But they very much are not.
Well, I'd love for this game to have movement that's better designed, full stop, because
more fun to use.
Yeah, because this is the thing, right? One of the things that's kind of important to this game as well is your grapple hook. We've put grapple in quotation marks.
Which is the most disappointing thing in any game ever. I hate that grapple hook so much.
Yeah, picture any game where you've got a grapple hook. Picture yourself flinging yourself miles ahead.
Gracefully through the air.
Yeah, getting
the feeling of speed, the precision, like the grace of flying through the air.
Yeah, navigating a brand new world. Like it's wonderful. It's glorious. Not this one. This one, your grapple hook appears to have the length of like
a meter, maybe?
Yeah, it feels like almost nothing.
Yeah.
And it's so short that the thing to do with a grapple hook is you want to give it more range than you think it looks like.
Yeah.
This one has less range than you think it looks like, because you'll want to go to a different platform, you'll shoot your grapple hook ahead, and it won't be far enough. You'll be like, why? This looks like the length of the grapple hook, but it isn't enough. And it's also a thing if you can't use it while you're jumping, you can't use it while you're moving, you have to stand
the jumping is a real slow thing as well. Like you have like no air control after you jump. It's really infuriating.
Yeah, loads of different moves like that. Lots of downtimey stuff. It's just, it locks you in.
It's like the characters are moving through inertia. Like they're moving through like Jello or something. Like they're so slow in a really weird way. I don't understand what the intention of that was. Like if it was just to make it feel more like Gears of War.
Yeah.
But I feel like Gears of War feels more smooth than this.
Oh, it does.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it really does. I don't know what they were doing here.
I also will say with the grappling hook, if you happen to touch like a centimeter of anything on the way while you're grappling, your character will fucking fall.
Yes. Yeah. Well, what kept happening with me on one of the levels was that there's a level where you've got two trains and you're trying to jump between the two.
Yes, I had the exact same issue. Yeah.
I'd go to grapple to one side of it. The game will go, oh, you've caught on a railing. We'll interrupt your grapple. You'll just get plunged off of the train and fall off the train and instantly die.
Yeah, it's so infuriating as well. Not that you get penalized that much for it, because the game has a really weird like health system where you have like a battle gauge.
Yeah.
And every time you die, you lose a portion of the battle gauge, but you can respawn as long as you have some of it left.
Yeah. The battle gauge is, as you say, it's effectively a live system. You can get more by successfully capturing these respawn posts that are called data points, I believe.
Yeah, data points, yeah. It reminds me a lot of the single player campaign from Star Wars Battlefront.
Yes.
Where it just feels like multiplayer, but you're fighting bots rather than...
Yeah. It's funny because this game has a play against the computer multiplayer mode in training, which is quite a rare occurrence, even in 2010.
I know that's why Black Ops 1 is your favorite Call of Duty, because it has a bots mode.
It's probably my favorite multiplayer. I don't know if I'd say favorite single player.
The game is slow.
It's very slow.
It's aggressively slow.
And it feels like this is a game that should give you loads of fluent movement in order to navigate this world of gigantic monsters, as well as these levels of heights and grand sort of spaces.
Yeah. I mean, one of the positive things I would say about the level design is that it's very vertical. There's lots of 3D space being taken advantage of. But because the movement is so sticky and gross, you never really want to take advantage of it because it's an awful feeling to get up there.
I'm in full agreement.
Yeah.
It's a thing of, surely this game should want to encourage you to be fluid and move and that kind of thing. But it feels like the reason why the grapple hook is so limited is because the game designers went, oh crap, if they could grapple anywhere, they could go by a whole bunch of parts of these levels and they won't go through it in the order we've designed it to. And it's just restrictive and constraining and it's awful.
I think the conclusion I always draw about this game's mechanics is that you can either make a game where the player character has a degree of freedom and mobility that means they're very, very capable in certain situations, and then you design enemies that can take advantage of that. Or you design a game where the character is very slow and very rigid, but you make monsters that are also slow and rigid, that it feels satisfying to be able to fight them while using difficult controls.
Yeah.
I think that early style Monster Hunter games do that very well, where your character has a lot of animation delay and is very murky and slow, but the monsters feel balanced around that. Lost Planet feels like a game where you have slow movement, but the enemies are all really fast or really, really mobile, and it can get really frustrating when you just can't move the same way that they can.
And it's one of those things where I like the fact that they show it as it's not necessarily an even fight. No duh, look at the size of that boy.
Yeah.
But that's why you've got vital suits, that's why you have this mobility, it's this idea of conquering these things. It's almost like Capcom made a different game about fighting big monsters that did infinitely better and is still doing really well, and they just made a worse version of that.
Yeah, yeah.
And that sucks. Like,
do you think they made Lost Planet because they wanted to make a Monster Hunter that would be popular in the West?
Yes.
Because they took Monster Hunter's inherent strengths, which is a 4-player co-op against big monsters, and made it a shooter rather than an action game.
Yeah, but they removed the loop that Monster Hunter players like about Monster Hunter.
And the depth, and the variety, and the style.
Yeah. Yeah, a whole lot of things.
Yeah.
I mean, this game has a style. I'll give it that. I want to talk more about it because in some cases it's so goofy that I kind of love it. In other cases I'm like, what are you guys doing? Like, I'll give credit. I do like the concept of like the vital suits. Because one thing that's important to note, vital suit is it's a catch-all for basically any vehicle in the game. Yeah. It can be a mech, it can be a helicopter.
There's even like a little Star Wars style speeders that you can get in later levels.
Yeah, where you can just go around, which are good fun. But the thing is, one thing you can do is that they'll usually have a heavy weapon on them that you can actually take off and replace with a different one you find in the weapon, in the level, not in the weapon.
There's a weapon in this weapon.
It's like a Russian doll. Ooh, inside the missile launcher is a shotgun, and inside the shotgun is a machine gun.
Now that would be fun.
But that's one part of the vital suits I like. I like their general aesthetics, but it just doesn't quite live up to the hype when it comes to actually controlling them there.
Yeah, I will say they had such really good ideas for making a multiplayer shooter that feels really dynamic and reactive because, like you say, you can either get in the suit yourself, or you can rip the weapon off it, or you can do all these things that feel really freeing and really interesting.
You can hang on to them.
You can hang on to them, yeah. It's really, really well considered in that way. But I just think the actual feel and the base of the mechanics doesn't support those ideas actually being that fun.
No.
Because when everything's such a sludge to get through, it takes away a lot of the inherent coolness.
Yeah.
Like, this is a game where you have a 4-player rail cannon that you use to fight a massive desert worm. And it's boring. It's so slow. Like, it's infuriating.
Oh my god.
It makes you angry because you think to yourself, you had such a good idea, but you completely borfed it.
This is one of those games where I actually think that there's half of the time where you actually are better off with the AI companions just running around and not getting in your way. But then there's another half of the time where it's like, right, if you don't have 4 people for this, you're gonna have a bad time. Yeah. And the railway gun is a good example of that.
I would say that in my experience of playing through this game, which I've done twice, once with you obviously for the list, and then I did my own playthrough this very week to have memory of the actual levels. Playing with 3 AI companions made the game so much easier because it doesn't feel like they've actually adjusted the balance for different player counts at all. Like,
no.
It's infuriating.
They really don't. The fact that you can even have the option to turn them all off at all, I'm just like, why? Do you want to handicap yourself?
Do you want to have a really bad time or have a really bad time?
Yeah. The thing is that a lot of the levels in this game do just end up going from A to B. You know,
or they're either that, or they're capture 5 data points, or they're hold a point for a minute.
Yeah.
They feel like multiplayer missions.
They do, yeah. Which, in the case of something like Star Wars Battlefront, I don't mind it. That's fine.
I mean, the movement in Battlefront is good. That's the thing. Like, if you have good mechanics and good movement, doing boring things can be fun.
Oh man, I wish I had Battlefront's dodge roll. I really do.
Yeah,
God.
that would be nice, yeah.
I wish I could be Boba Fett in this game.
That's our one complaint with Lost Planet 2. You can't be Boba Fett. This is bullshit.
You can be a lot of things. You can be Marcus Phoenix.
You can be Albert Wesker.
You can be Albert Wesker.
You can't be a woman though in the campaign.
Yeah, you can. You just have to be it
be
once.
the entire time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Weird.
Well, there's a very vital part to this game that's like integral to the entire lore of this world, which is this substance called thermal energy.
T-ENG.
Yeah, T-ENG, as it is called. T-energy, which is what every British person runs off of, and it is...
Or it's the holy grail for all trans men.
Is the thing that makes this world go round. It's why humans are even on the lost planet of EDN III, as it were.
EDN III, yeah, which they're trying to colonize, I believe.
Yes, they are. It's a naturally recurring substance in these creatures called the Akrid, which are the monsters that you have these big fights with.
It kind of gives me the same vibe as the life stream in Final Fantasy VII, where it's like an energy that courses through the planet.
Yeah, and it's a catch-all. It powers machines, it heals people, it keeps people warm during the frigid conditions of Lost Planet, which...
I mean, the implication is that it's what powers the Akrids, right? It's their blood, basically.
Yeah, effectively. And the plots of both Lost Planet 1 and 2 entirely revolve around what T-energy is and what it does.
Yeah.
Mechanically speaking, it's something that you have to collect around the level in order to even stay alive.
Yeah, because the game doesn't have regenerating health, but you can always heal yourself by using T-energy.
Yeah.
And it actually has a bunch of really cool mechanics where you can shoot T-energy into your fellow players to heal them and things like that.
Yeah, there's even a support weapon that does it for free as well. It even like trickles down as time goes by because the idea is that it's what's keeping your character alive.
Yeah, 100%.
So,
and I do like how you can also use it for some weapons. Like a lot of the bigger VS weapons, use T-energy as a power source. So you kind of have to balance, should I save this for healing or should I use this really big gun to get through these enemies quicker?
Yeah, exactly. It's just this like ticking sand timer that you have to keep replenishing. And I think it's a really good mechanic for the concept of this world.
No, it's really good at getting across the inherent struggle which is making these factions fight each other, which is the acquisition of T-energy.
Yeah.
And it really makes you feel how vital it is to even surviving on this planet for even any extended period of time.
Vital to your suit. Oh, it heals your vitals. There you go. Oh,
I will say though, here's where I come at Lost Planet 2 again for its mechanical implementation of these ideas. I think the issue is that because the single player levels feel like multiplayer maps, you have the same level of health as a multiplayer character would do. As in, if you get shot with a shotgun, you're basically almost dead.
Yeah.
So, it doesn't necessarily feel like you're making a lot of big compromises with T-energy because you take so much damage that you're always using it for healing, and it's much more important to do that than it is to use it to fire cool guns. Yeah.
I mean, honestly, the eventual perk system in the game that I had a little dabble in, I found that the ones I would always go with are the ones that automatically refill your health points with T-energy, and also anything that gives you more of it or conserves it.
Yeah.
And I just found that way better than anything that would be like, oh, you can deal more damage, but you'll take more damage back. It's a weird system.
I mean, there are several enemies in the campaign who, when striking you with their normal attacks, will deal 98% of your health.
Yeah.
So you need to be at 100 to be surviving some attacks from very frequent enemies.
Oh yeah, that's one of my strongest memories of this game, is just getting flung around.
Yeah, getting blown up and watching your fucking health bar go woo all the way down and being like, hold start, hold start, hold start.
I did eventually find out that, you can hold start and heal as you are in these stun lock animations, which is good, because I thought for the longest time you had to wait for the guy to slowly get up and brush himself off. And
you do get stun locked a lot in this fucking game.
You really do. You really do. Part of the cumbersomeness. We briefly alluded to the types of things that we are fighting, and there's effectively two groups of enemies that you really deal with, which is the Akrid, the big monsters, which also have smaller versions. They're like little peons that run around.
Yeah. They have lesser and greater Akrids. They're kind of categorized by size, I think. Like the big ones are category G, and then you go down based on their strength, basically.
Yeah, like category M, category S, that kind of thing. And the other half of the enemies are just dudes with guns.
Yeah.
They're the other factions on this world, typically the carpetbaggers, which are a lot to unpack.
There's a lot going on with the carpetbaggers, as you might expect.
I mean, look, I'll put it out here like this. This game is about colonialization. Colonialization? Christ, Connor. Colonization. And so having a faction that is the native Chinese people who are here, who are getting exploited by the East Venus Company, effectively. It's an interesting concept, but it is not done well.
Yeah,
it is
curious that they're called carpetbaggers as well, considering what that term actually means politically.
Yeah! The other one is that you might otherwise be fighting the forces of NEVEC, which is this corporation that was exploiting the planet from the start.
Well, the idea is that from episode to episode, you're going from faction to faction. You're never playing as the same one consecutively. So you're always fighting different human factions who are opposing your faction at that time.
Yeah, I've almost completely forgotten about the fact that you do fight jungle pirates at the beginning, and you also fight sand pirates.
Well, I think you're playing as NEVEC at the beginning, right?
At the very beginning, you're actually playing as snow pirates.
Oh, okay. One of my biggest pet peeves with the story in this game is that none of the characters have names. Like, they're all just nameless grunts.
Yeah, it's trying to be episodic and trying to show various different perspectives on this world, but I think it would have benefited so much more from just committing to being from one perspective and making the entire game about that.
I mean, heck, even if the characters in those groups were people with personalities, that would have been nice.
Yeah.
I would have appreciated that.
No, that would have been good.
They're all just generic military guys, apart from the vagabundas or whatever.
The disgruntled guy who's angry when he gets fucked over and is kind of exhausted by everything. That's every character in this game.
Let's talk about the humans. Because I would say a massive part of my distaste for this game comes from fighting humans. Not because I'm inherently opposed to the idea of fighting humanoid enemies in games with big monsters, because if you're fighting big monsters all the time, then the monsters lose their value, basically.
Yeah.
I will say, though, the enemy AI in this game is maybe some of the worst I've seen in a big budget game.
Yes, I can agree with that.
Like, the human enemies, they just stand there and shoot at you. They don't ever really take cover. They don't employ any complex tactics. It just feels like you're playing like a WiiWare shooting game.
Yeah.
You're just running up to guys and blasting them.
Oh, 100%. A lot of my strategies just ended up becoming getting the sniper rifle and just being like, cool, you just stand there and I'll just, bam, gone.
I mean, there are several times throughout my recent experience where the enemy AI on VS pilots just broke and it just stood there as I shot them.
Seriously?
And I was just like, well, this is a fun fight.
Yeah. They do just kind of become damage sponges after a while.
100%, yeah.
Because that is the thing. You're fighting an enemy that works on the same rules as you, effectively. Although the difference is that they don't regenerate their health from T-energy like you can. They just kind of die as soon as they take enough trauma. One thing that I was a little bit disappointed by is how this isn't really taken advantage of. Like, there's a couple of times where I think to myself, okay, you've given me a wide open space. I can see enemies coming from one side and I can see a bunch of vital suits on the other. Is the idea going to be that they're going to be rushing towards the vital suits to get into it to go and fight me? You know, if I can intercept them, I can take them for myself. No, they'll just run to like a bit of cover or to a wide open space and then they'll just shoot you. And it's like, if I was playing a game like Halo, even Halo 1, a situation like that would be almost the same of, okay, there's some Banshees, there's some grunts and some elites. The elites are running over to pilot the Banshees. The grunts are trying to distract you. There's dynamics there in that sandbox, and this game does not have it with the human enemies.
Yeah, I don't think I could like describe to you any type of enemy in this game or what their special characteristics are, because they don't have any. They're all just guys who shoot you with the guns they're holding.
Yeah, whether they're NEVEC, sand pirates, jungle pirates, or carpetbaggers, they all act almost exactly the same way.
I actually distinctly recall a level set in a prison where the objective of the overall chapter was kill every enemy on the map. And it took me about 40 minutes because I just couldn't find the last guy. I just found him in a corner doing nothing. And I was like, great, cool, thanks.
I think I know that level because it starts you in the middle of that level.
It does, yeah.
And it says like, okay, if you want to continue, you need to capture 2 data points. And I assumed like, oh, I guess I just have to keep climbing up.
Yeah, I had the same issue.
And I went up to the top and I was like, where do I go?
Something up here.
Where the fuck do I go? And
it's actually like a broken fence that looks like it's progress, but there's an invisible wall around it.
Yeah, and you know what I tried to do? Grapple hooked onto it, and it's the one surface you can't grapple hook onto. And I was like, well, the fucking... They knew.
Cool, thanks.
You knew what you were doing when you put a grapple hook in this game, and you didn't build it around it. It's a rookie mistake, which I suppose someone had to make before other games could learn how to do it right.
I mean, this is pretty early on for this kind of gameplay, right? For grappling hooks and big monster fights, like...
Yeah, but you know what game came out the same year? Just Cause 2.
Yeah.
The game with one of the best fucking grapple hooks I've ever used.
Alright. You beat me there.
Yeah. Things had to flood back to me upon our playthrough when we played this in 2021 on the revisit.
Yeah, because this would have been your second time through the campaign, whereas it was my first time through the actual full game.
I don't know what the fuck I was doing wrong, because I checked my stats on my Xbox 360 version, and I was getting A's and S's on every mission. Yeah. Whereas somehow we were just blundering along.
Well, let me tell you, Connor, you know what happened? you brought JRPG Fingers Ash onto the battlefield.
That's
and I was
fair.
rolling around being like, how do I use Ethers?
I don't think FPS Fingers Connor was really doing much better with Lost Planet either, if I'm going to be honest.
Well, that actually leads us quite smoothly on to another mechanic we've yet to discuss, which is the good job system.
Oh, yeah.
Which is basically when you're playing through single-player campaigns, it will randomly give you, like, objectives to complete in every level.
Yeah, they're like little medals.
Yeah, where it's like, oh, kill this group of enemies before completing the level, or do this objective in a certain period of time. And that affects the rank that you get at the end of the level, basically.
Yeah. Well, it's, in some cases, they can be quite easy things like, you just gotta kill all the vital suits in the mission. It's like, what's the objective of the mission? Kill all the enemies. Well,
you've got it, boss.
So you'll get golds for free anyway in some cases. You even get them for getting every member of your party to do an emote at the same time.
You do, yeah,
Which I'm gonna be level with you, Ash. I'm gonna be real with you.
Yeah,
I can't be mad at my, like, computer player goons in this game, because it turns out that when you unlock emotes in the game and you assign them to your sheet, they will do them. So I'll just be running along and then I'll just turn around to a guy and he'll start doing bunny ears at me and I'm like, I can't be mad at you.
Yeah. It is a system entirely optimized to capture your heart, isn't it?
I know,
because you have little goons and you can hang out with them and do emotes at each other.
I know. Well, it is mooks to a fault in that they don't have a story context. You know,
and they all have really lame names like XXX Ricky and stuff like that.
Yeah, they feel like randomly assigned gamer tags almost, which is to make them seem more like real players, which is, you know, cute and tragic at the same time. But this game has some real good Nommes De Gurre that I can talk about later on.
Why did they call them Nommes De Gurre?
Because they wanted to be stylish, Ash.
Well, they failed, Connor.
That's the thing. Lost Planet tries style. I'll give it that.
Yeah.
And I think one of its ways it really tries to do style is with its Akrid sort of setup. It really tries to lean into this idea of a weirdly alien life form that infests this planet that is so integral to its ecosystem that it almost looks more like the microbes inside your body than actual animals on a green world.
No, they are very buggy.
They're very buggy.
There's a very scientific word for this that I've completely forgotten, but they look more like insects and bugs and cells than they do mammals and fish and stuff like that.
Yeah, which also means it's easy to dehumanize and shoot the shit out of them.
100%,
but,
yeah.
You know,
I mean, one can make the argument that this game is trying to have something to say about colonization and like climate change and stuff like that. But it's fucking Lost Planet 2, so it doesn't actually say any of those things very well.
Yeah, no, instead it gets kind of locked in this kind of muddy plot about people trying to get T-Energy and like corporations being like, alright, our Black Ops team is gonna get to this train.
Like, are we supposed to feel bad for the Akrids? Or am I meant to be like, hell yeah, let's shoot those motherfuckers?
I think it's hell yeah, let's shoot these motherfuckers. And here's the thing, right? It's fair to have games like that.
Yeah.
I think another good comparison to this game is EDF. Another game that's
I'm
not...
so sad that you brought up EDF now, because I was going to conclude by saying this game is like EDF but worse.
Yeah.
This game is like EDF but it's having no fun.
Well, if someone's been listening to this for 40 minutes and going, why haven't they mentioned EDF? It sounds like EDF, then there you go.
We will now satisfy you. EDF!
EDF! EDF!
There you go.
No.
Please like, comment, subscribe.
EDNF. I don't know.
Damn it. What were we talking about? Akrids.
Akrid, yeah. No, I don't think it's trying to make you, like, have any pity for the enemies.
Yeah.
And I think that's fine to just have a game where you can just shoot the crap out of monsters. I mean, I feel more bad about, like, killing the dinosaur cool monsters in Monster Hunter than I do in this game.
But that's because in Monster Hunter, they limp away from you.
Yeah.
And try to flee for their lives, and you chase them down and kill them like dogs.
But that game is still about, like, yeah, you gotta get those jobs, man.
Yeah.
You gotta do
get
it.
those claws.
Exactly. Gotta cook that meat. How else will you feed your cat intern?
Hey, I pay him in skills. I give him training. He's done a lot hanging out with me. I would say generally that the Akrid are more interesting to fight than the human enemies, but I still think the AI is rather lacking.
Yes.
I think they all have like maybe 1 or 2 attacks that they do and they just repeat them on loop forever and ever.
Yeah.
Although it is a little bit more forgivable because 1, they're cool, and 2, they are animals, so that makes sense.
Yeah.
But they aren't necessarily that fun to fight, and a lot of them end up feeling a bit more like bullet sponges, like the human enemies.
Oh yeah, well you've got your archetypical kinds where you've got like, here's the one that charges at you but has an exposed back. Here's the thing that pops up and spawns new ones.
Yeah.
Here's the like instant death enemy that will swallow you whole if it comes up to you, which I wanna tell a story of like, I was trying to complete an objective which involved tapping on this computer. And as I was doing so, I could see the computer players like shooting at something, and I was like, "They got it covered. It's fine." And then as I completed the objective, this thing started swallowing me whole. But because the animation was so long, quest completed, mission complete. It just was like, "Oh, well, there goes that guy." But
fantastic job.
I mean, that's a thing when it comes to capturing those control points or doing any of like the computer stuff or even repairing your vital suit, which you can do.
You gotta mash.
You gotta mash your B button.
And I know how much you love mashing.
Yeah. Well, this game, on our replay, we found precisely one QuickTime event, didn't we?
Yeah.
And it's not even a QuickTime event. It gives you like 15 seconds to do it.
It just feels like they thought that's what all the big games are doing, so we've got to have one too, right?
Exactly. It looks good in the trailers.
I guess so. It is fun though when you do it with your co-op partners because it makes the bar fill up quicker.
Yeah.
And it's a bunch of just guys behind a computer going like turning it on.
It's a great LAN party. Let's go.
So there's a kind of co-op camaraderie to that I think is quite fun, but it is annoying to have to do it so much.
Well, this game is designed so well for co-op, and you know this is another reason why I think we're so fond of the demo, because every time we played the demo, it'd be with 4 people.
Yeah.
Like, we'd have a full party for that, whereas I played this game solo, and when we revisited it together, it was just the 2 of us, and we had a hard time.
We did have, this game kicked our ass.
It did.
We actually had to stop playing it midway through and come back to it later.
Yeah, no, you were not a happy bunny.
Okay, folks. We got, 55 minutes into the episode?
Well,
depending on how much Connor has cut it. Let's talk about this. I hate this game. I fucking don't like this game one bit. I think, legitimately, this is the worst time I've had on The List Goes On, was playing this game.
I think your hate kept me going. I was like, alright, I'm putting on a happy face for this, because if you're willing to stick with this, we can do anything.
We can beat anyone. But I was really worried about doing this episode, because I was so worried that I would just sound really negative. So let's try not to do that.
No. I'll turn to a slightly more positive point and briefly talk about the weapons, if it's cool with you.
Yeah, the weapons are good, yeah.
Because I realized that if your playthrough of it was anything like the one we did together, because I think we played on your Xbox, it didn't have a file for it.
We did, yeah.
I think it only has the base game weapons, and they're a pretty stock affair. You've got your machine guns, your shotguns, you've got your rocket launcher, your sniper rifle, and then you've got a slot for a special weapon, which I think by default is a shield. Like a big,
there's a lot of shields around.
A big cumbersome riot shield. But as you play through the game and you level up with the different factions over the campaign, because they're all tracked separately, you will end up unlocking new weapons. The thing is, some of them aren't labeled super well. You get shotgun and shotgun 2. And for the longest time, especially in the case of the machine guns, I thought that it literally just means it's a more powerful version.
Yeah.
Because there were times where I was like, Machine Gun 3 just feels better than Machine Gun 1.
It's got the same naming convention as the weapons in Disaster.
Yeah, where it's just like, why are you stacking it up like this? Because in actuality, they are different.
Yeah.
Shotgun 2 is a double-barreled shotgun, but Sniper 2 is an automatic sniper rifle.
See, I think when I did my replay for the podcast, I didn't have any of those weapons.
No, I bet not.
The base stuff.
Well, I think it came from me leveling up from my old save file, and also I think it came from doing the little slot machine for...
I'm getting the question mark boxes.
Yeah.
Which for me is one of the things that completely ruins this game's attempt to be any serious. Because when you kill the big boss monsters, massive orange question mark boxes fly out of them.
And they float around and they'll shrink away.
And you get the objective of like, get all the boxes! It's fucking so stupid. It takes you out of it.
Oh, 100%. But like, some of them on the replay were really good, and I just kind of wished you could just access them
I kind of wish
start.
I had those, because I was kind of chafing at the weapon variety at the end of the campaign. It felt like very repetitive after a while.
Because one thing I made the lucky gamble with was playing through Chapter 4 with the flamethrower instead of the shotgun. The flamethrower has infinite ammunition, doesn't overheat, and its range ain't bad.
You get some guns that don't have ammo, like the there's like a laser sword that you can get.
Yeah,
like a homing laser that you can have. That's really
cool. The lasers are super powerful in this game. There's like a plasma cannon as well that's a lot like that. There's also a gun sword,
Yeah, and the gun sword is so cool.
Yeah, it's got a lower rate of fire than any other standard assault rifle, but you press your melee button, your character lunges forward, it strikes a guy, it'll kill them instantly.
There is, yeah, to be fair, to confirm, there is a melee in this game, but it sucks.
Yeah, it's not good. I think, actually, if you kill anyone with melee, you automatically get a question mark block.
Oh, really?
Because it's so hard to do, but with the gun sword, farming. It's so easy to just reap them like the farmer with a scythe.
It really does feel like they took so much influence from Halo. Where it's like, there's all these like vehicles you can drive and like power weapons and gun swords and stuff like that.
They could have done with more influence, honestly, like maybe the control scheme or,
you know,
enemy AI or anything like that.
But I will say, just to be charitable to the game, the variety of options is really fun. Like, that is one of the best things about it, is that the levels are so full of different weapons and mechs that you can use that it is kind of fun to experiment with what you can get, basically.
Yeah. I mean, hell, the thing I experimented with in this playthrough was the dummy grenade, which it pops up a little inflatable dummy that has a machine gun that shoots things for you.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
I thought it was just going to be a distraction thing, but no. I found out the hard way, it can kill you. And as a result, it can kill the enemies too.
There are a lot of fun grenades as well. There's like a disc grenade that you throw like a frisbee.
Yeah, the one of the mech suits has a free arm to use your grenade. So I was just frisbee tossing.
Although once again, throwing grenades to stop your movement.
Yes.
Which is so annoying.
This makes me think, because obviously Resident Evil 5, the director of this game had done that, and producer of this game had done that, and it had come out a year prior, and it was like, how many notes are you taking from RE5 here? Because this seems like a weird hybrid of a lot of influences that aren't working now.
I mean, you can move and shoot.
Yes.
Unless you're using a versus gun without being in a versus.
Yeah, so that is something to note as well, which is that all of the vital suit weapons you can just carry as your character. But obviously the recoil is insane on them. Like, if you use the vital suit shotgun, your character will try and find their footing afterwards. It has some real Monster Hunter energy to it.
It's almost impossible to aim with the versus Gatling gun if you're using it on the ground, because it's just going up so quickly. It's impossible to get on the target.
Yeah, you're much better off trying to fix that onto something.
Yeah.
Which, again, I think about that salamander fight, because you're surrounded by mechs that are usable, but they're broken down. So you just fix the weapon onto them, you activate them, and then you can pilot them.
Yeah. It's a really exciting way to engage with levels and boss fights.
Yeah, it is something that, like, I kind of wish that your movement or the pacing or the way the bosses were designed helped facilitate that.
Yeah, because if we're going to make the example with Resident Evil once again, I mean, obviously we'll talk about this more when we do Resident Evil 5, but I feel like not being able to move and shoot is really well balanced with the way the enemies move and how they operate as an artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
Whereas in this game, they don't have any.
Yeah.
So they can't really take advantage of the movement options because all the enemies are so stupid.
I know. Because they just stand around and just get, like, blown away.
Yeah. They're just basically like cannon fodder, basically. And I will say, not to give it away, but the interesting versus quality versus fun ranking for me in this one is going to be pretty crazy.
Oh my god.
Be a big split on this. Because I do find this game interesting for reasons that we'll get into.
Yeah. I wonder if you'll be on the same page as me on this one.
Stay tuned.
All right.
It's called a teaser, friends. It's a literary technique.
For those of you too smooth brains to keep up with our big brain podcast, where we say game from 2010 you like is bad.
Oh.
I mean, this is how YouTubers make money.
Yeah, look forward to the thumbnail for this one. It's going to be a picture of the Akrid with a big circle around it. And Connor's face going, oh.
If we spend all that money on a piece of art of us doing this, it's going to be the biggest waste of any funds that I've ever allocated.
And that's the beauty of the list goes on.
But you know what? Maybe it's worth sharing in some of the details of what this game actually contains, because we can say you shoot dudes all you want, but when do you shoot dudes? What's the context of you shooting dudes?
Why do you shoot dudes?
Is there any set pieces that contextualize this that make this sound a little bit more exciting than what we're implying?
Like, is there a sense of narrative flow, a sense of progression, a sense of escalation? No.
So, the campaign of Lost Planet 2, eh?
Yeah. So this is actually a really good moment to talk about something that we've omitted so far, which is the really weird structure of this game. Because, alright, let's break it down. You need a degree to understand this, but we're going to make it as simple as possible. So the game is split into 6 episodes, and each episode is split into a number of chapters that's usually between 2 and 4. Each chapter is split into missions, and then each mission is split into areas.
I'm not going to act like some games don't have these layered structures, but something about the naming convention irks me to no end.
Yeah.
It's like trying to figure out, like, Series 5, Season 3, Volume 8, Chapter 2, and I'm like, what the fuck? Like, I honestly, I got to the end of a mission in Lost Planet 2, and I thought, oh wow, the chapter's done. And then turned out there was more of that chapter to go, and I was like, oh, I see, okay.
We should timestamp the episode like this. We should have them all be like, Episode 4, Chapter 2, Mission A, Area 5.
Oh yeah, no, at random intervals, I'm just going to have it pop up with mission complete and a little ticker of how much XP you've gotten and what ranking you've gotten as a listener for listening to this part of the podcast.
What your dog level is.
Yeah, what is your your medal level? Did you remember to do an emote with your boys?
If not, turn off now.
Unsubscribe. You're never getting the super credits you need just to save EDN III. You're saving the planet by listening to this podcast. Not our planet, but
some random planet.
Yeah, a lost planet.
That'd actually be a really good scam if you had like a fund, like a charity that was like save the planet or save the planet, but you didn't specify what the planet was. So like, I'm investing great money into Mars right now. All right. What I want to get across though is that I feel one of my biggest criticisms of this game is how segmented all the missions are.
Yes.
And I'll tell you for why. Having them set up like this means there's no sense of flow in this game, and every mission feels like it's completely disconnected from the others. With a few exceptions, you'll go from one area to a completely different area with no understanding of how you got there or the size of the world that you're navigating. And having the mission, like, of the game end every 2 minutes to give you a fucking another score for that level just completely ruins any sense of consistent narrative flow for me.
Oh, I hate how this flows.
Yeah.
The fact it breaks it up like this, like, it's one thing to go, right, we need a loading screen after this point because the consoles can't do any more of this right now. You know, we don't live in our glorious SSD age.
Yeah, your PS3 could never.
But at the same time, it does just break this up so much, and I'm just like, oh, cool, I got an S.
Yeah.
Does that mean I'm going to get an S overall? No, I got a B later, so it equalizes to a B.
If you'll allow me once again the self-indulgence of referring to Resident Evil 5, that game is also split up into areas, but they're much less frequent, and they also connect to each other organically. You understand how you got from one to the next.
Yeah, because some of them just teleport you. You just go like, oh, I finished this mission with these weapons and with the set piece, and then it takes you on to the next chapter, and you go, well, how did we get here?
Yeah. I think there's one where you go from like an industrial city prison to an underwater base, and there's no real understanding of how that happened to you.
Yeah, I guess you went down a flight of stairs and got there. I don't know.
Great.
And then, you know, props to you guys for wanting to, you know, cut out all the downtime of us just going from A to B, but also maybe could you make all the levels really exciting if you're going to think like that?
Yeah, there's a version of this game where even though it's mission-based, the missions are exciting, so you don't care. But you don't get either. You don't get the best of any world here. You just get, they're really short, lame missions, and also they're so segmented that you don't feel any sense of progression or satisfaction from going through them in sequence, you know?
Exactly.
Like, you could take them and jumble them all up and you wouldn't feel any different about it. I think it just compounds the issue that, like, the world building in this game is completely paper thin. It feels like no one actually lives on this planet, they all just fight all the time.
Someone worked so hard to make something so underthought. It really is like there's so many sub-factions of snow pirates, there's so many things going on with the themes of this game's world, and yet I don't remember or process any of it because they fail to characterize anything, to make me attached to anything, to give me any kind of like, I think any idea of making this a good story was chucked out because they went, well, it's a video game, we don't have to overthink it. It's fine, people will want to shoot the monsters. Like, yeah, but why did you overthink all of this then?
I also think there's a really important distinction to be made between a game's narrative and a game's story. Because you can have a game that has a bad story, but a game that tells a good narrative in the sense that you're going on an adventure and you're doing things, you know? That's
a really good way of putting it.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a bit rich, I suppose. Crash Bandicoot's got a good narrative. It's not got a good story.
Shut the fuck up. But it's a great question. It's a great point. Crash Bandicoot, the best game of all time. Everyone knows it. You're going through levels, but you feel a sense of progression and feel like you're going somewhere and you're doing something.
Yeah, you're going from island to island. You can see things on the mini-map, and then it feels like you're getting to progressively harder areas.
Natural levels to inorganic ones like laboratories and factories. You can feel the progression of the game's themes as you go through it. And even though it's not a complex story, it's just like, nature good. But it's still satisfying, even if it's simple, you know?
Do you remember how Lost Planet 2 starts, Ash?
I, Connor, am nothing if not the most dedicated member of this 2-person show, because I, against all recommendations from my doctors, decided that I wouldn't allow a situation in which we couldn't recall the events of a story again. So I have actually spent the last week playing through this game in its entirety again. However, I don't remember how it starts.
See,
I think you're in the snow, right?
From what I remember, it starts off with you as the snow pirates kind of like going through the snow, a lot like the original Lost Planet. After fighting a couple of very minor Akrid, you end up getting picked up by your buddies and your little helicopters that just like, the way they transport people is they have a big box underneath them that everyone kind of stands around in the box and the helicopter picks up the box and flies away. And something about it is so janky where I'm like, I love the idea of these like otherworld pirates having this as their mode of transport.
It kind of looks a little bit like Mega Bloks.
Yes, it does. It's like a Lego set I would make.
Yeah.
They get flown out and they go, oh yeah, so we've been recruited to go and raid these jungle pirates. And they go, jungle pirates? There's no jungles in EDN III. And they go, think again.
Yeah.
And you fly off and then all the snow just turns into luscious jungle. And the first thing one of your guys goes is, wow, it smells like shit.
The gravitas.
And they go, well, yeah, everything isn't ice anymore. There's life down there, idiot.
Well, I think from my understanding, isn't the narrative progression from Lost Planet 1 that the planet's temperature is increasing because of the colonization efforts on the planet?
Yeah, the mining of thermal energy has affected the climate, and as a result, everything's melting away. The mission appears to be to blow up this mine that the jungle pirates have.
This is the most like, you're fighting a faction war of the episodes, basically.
Yeah, and it all goes wrong. You end up getting shot down into the jungle. You end up having to fight a bunch of Akrid local to the jungle before you even get to the jungle pirates and do their mine mission.
I think this is also where the limitations and rigidness of the structure makes itself apparent. Because each mission in episode 1 is basically, okay, walk down like a 5-minute corridor shooting dudes, and then you'll get to the end of the level, which is marked by a little red line, which is stupid.
Yeah.
Or it's capture 5 data points, or it's hold these 2 King of the Hill zones for like 2 minutes, and that's every mission basically. And it's like, oh, is this what we're doing?
Yeah, I mean, it also doesn't help as a tutorial level. It just goes like, here's the most simple, smallest amount of weapons and the most basic enemies, and it's just like...
And I really think the first episode is just you walk down a corridor and shoot 5 Akrid, and then the game goes, you did it, have a B, and you're like, what? I just walked for a bit. Like,
yeah, that's how it always feels.
Yeah.
Like, the ranking systems in these things simultaneously feel so trite and also so infuriating, because as soon as you give me like a grade ranking on these things, I'm like, what did I do wrong?
I think the ranking in this game is based on how many good jobs you got and the time you took.
Yeah, but sometimes I completely faff around. I get stuck in parts of the level and I like backtrack and do all of this shit. And then it turns around with an S.
Do you know what, Connor? You did a real good job.
Thank you very much.
5 gold stars on this one.
Oh, hell yeah. I'm going to spend so many credits to get a new Nommes De Gurre.
Shut up about Nommes De Gurre.
So there's Chekhov's Nommes De Gurre, so you better get ready for when we fire that baby.
It's the most memorable part of this game.
Yeah.
I think the first level that we really had a lot of problems with when we did our playthrough together was a mine level, where the idea is that you have to capture these 2 points and hold them for 2.5 minutes.
Yeah. Which, in theory, would be fine with us being co-op because one of us could take one and one of us could take the other, but you end up getting weirdly, like, overwhelmed, despite the AI being so basic.
I think it becomes a slog. I think maybe the developers realize that their AI isn't very effective at killing players, so they just send wave after wave of men at you, basically.
Yeah. No, I got that replaying a later point in this game where it had a similar objective and enemies would spawn out of thin air.
Yeah.
I would turn a corner to be like, right, well, I'm playing single player, so I have to manage both these points. I guess I better start going to the other one, and I just saw them pop up right in front of me.
Yeah, because your AI partners will activate data points, but they won't capture points for, like, objectives like that. They won't open doors using the mashing Eva, stuff like that.
No, they don't want to take the entire game away from you, but they will still kill every enemy on the map in a kill every enemy on the map mission, and you're just like, well, not a happy medium here. But no, that mine is not a good beginning to this game.
No, it's really, really tedious. The mine itself is kind of ugly. It's like very brown and grey, basically.
Yeah.
Which I guess makes sense for the setting, but it's not very inspiring.
Well, it's trying to do these very earthy colours, and it's probably more exciting than just seeing endless white, but at the same time, it's typical for this era to be focusing on the hyperrealism and to completely avoid any artistic flair. but it's just not exciting for me to look at.
No, and if the game had a more coherent art style, like once again, I would say that Resident Evil 5 has a look to it. Even if it is going for realism, it still has a kind of a vibe, whereas this game is like, what am I looking at here? It's a mine, right?
Yeah, but that's unfortunately not the case, and I actually think the developers feel that, because then as soon as you're done with that mine, they immediately give you 2 Akrid boss fights.
Yeah, you get the first big Akrid boss fight, which is, you're on these platforms surrounding a lake, aren't you?
Yeah.
And it's a big scorpion Akrid with both his arms clasped on the front of the platform, and the basic idea is you have to shoot the big orange glowing weak points on the curves of his wings, and that's, guess what? You stand there and you go pew 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 until it blows up, and you're like, cool.
I think that Akrid are like the dodos of space. I think they've lived on a planet with no natural predators, so they've developed big glowing weak points and no way to hide them.
I also have to use this moment to once again make a Resident Evil 5 comparison for this boss fight in particular, because it's very, very similar to the boss fight against U5 in Resident Evil 5, where it's the big scorpion when you're trying to find Jill in the underground facility.
Oh.
And you have to shoot it in its little arm wings, and then it makes the mouth fall down, and you throw a grenade into its mouth. So in Lost Planet, it's like that boss fight, but get rid of phases 2 and 3. It's just phase 1, and that's the entire fight.
God, yeah, because sometimes it can feel like a bit of a slog where you're just like, I'm just shooting the glowing weak point for ages to see what happens.
And when you have AI, it's usually targeting the AI rather than you. So I was just standing there just going, pew, pew, pew. Is it going to attack me? No? Okay, great.
I'll give it some credit and say that sometimes there is a real visceral feedback to shooting some of the enemies in these weak points, because in some cases the limbs will blow off and it will actually like react and that kind of thing.
I mean, it will give you T-ENG as well, which is pretty cool gameplay wise to get health back for shooting enemies.
Exactly, yeah, which I mean, obviously anyone who knows anything about the modern Dooms knows how nice that is to get as a mechanic.
Yeah.
Or Space Marine, now that I think about it. But it's still, like, it's a fairly underwhelming beginning.
No. I mean, it's the first boss fight in the game, so you'll forgive it for being slightly simple, but it's not super fun to do.
I suppose so. For some reason, the comparison I'm thinking of is how, like, Shovel Knight begins. And Black Knight is not the most exciting boss to fight in that game, but it's like a fine boss fight. I feel like it's more exciting as a beginning.
I think the best early game boss fights feel real tough when you're doing them at that point, but when you go back, they seem really easy and simple.
Oh, like
a Dark Souls boss fight.
Taurus Demon.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It seems so unsurmountable when you first try it, but then when you go back after having played a lot of the game, it's incredibly easy.
Once you figure out how plunge attacks work, and you're like, alright, well.
Whereas here, you're just standing there and shooting at it. There's no complexity to it. There's no more nuance that you can derive from this boss fight. It's just that is what you do to it for 10 minutes and it dies.
It's just the fact that immediately after this, you get the Salamander.
Yeah, and the Salamander, honestly, no irony here, is the high point of the game. Like, it has so many ways of fighting it. It's a really cool, imposing boss fight. Like, the Salamander is, like, absolutely gigantic. It fills up, like, an entire valley as it moves around the sides, and you're trying to pivot around it to avoid its lightning attacks.
Yeah.
It's a good fight. It's fun.
We've elaborated on him already. Good boy. 5 out of 10.
We'll give it a 6.
Give him a 6, sure.
It's cool. It's really imposing.
We'll give him a 6. Maybe the game control a bit better.
Yeah.
No, it's fine. I'm not the best judge on boss fights, honestly. The games I grew up with have very middling boss fights.
Well, let me tell you about the boss fights in Resident Evil 1, baby. They're pretty terrible, actually.
So, what about Chapter 2? Sorry, fucking Episode 2.
Yeah. Because defeating the Salamander is the end of Episode 1. Having achieved something, I presume.
Well, I think this is actually elaborated on after you blow up the mine and you go fight your first boss. It turns out the extraction you had to get out of that job was a setup.
My God.
Whoever was paying you to blow up the jungle pirates was not intending to pull you out of there. A small ragtag fleet of your other snow pirate buddies have to get you out at the Salamander's location, and the snow pirates kind of ponder and they're like, why the hell would anyone be trying to kill snow pirates? We've got nothing. And then the story continues.
In Episode 2. Which, aesthetically, I think I like more than Episode 1. Episode 2 is set primarily within a nighttime, grungy industrial city.
Yes.
The objective of which is to steal a railgun, I presume from NEVEC.
And they don't fucking succeed.
I will say, though, the variety of areas and missions in Episode 2 leaves a lot to be desired.
Yeah, well,
Most of them are get to the end of the mission, and the objectives, or the obstacles, I should say, are just, there's like 50 guys, and they're all just standing there, just you fire through them, and that's it, basically.
The one I think of the most fondly is the one that has the giant grinder on it, although I say that with a pinch of salt, because I also, thanks to the grappling hook controls, kept falling into the fucking grinder.
It happens to everyone.
Yeah, you know, we all get on the grind.
It's the shared human experience.
I mean,
Lost Planet 2 captures that so succinctly.
you do get a medal called the Grinders on your side.
You do, yeah. It's true, yeah. There's
Um,
also like a press that you can put enemies into, but they get stamped by a big iron, basically, and that's pretty good too.
I never succeeded. It got me. I got flattened like a pancake. You see, Crash Bandicoot example again. If we got flattened and my little guy was just a head with shoes and wobbled around,
No, that'd be a game.
that would be a game Lost
be alright.
Planet.
I don't think any of the individual missions really grabbed my attention, so would you mind if we go back onto the boss fight of this area?
Yeah, absolutely. It opens up with you reaching the railway gun. You end up fighting a bunch of carpetbaggers to get to it. And then a massive fuck-off Akrid appears, and one...
I think the implication is that it falls from space.
Yeah, it does. It does fall from space.
Yeah, it's actually kind of rad.
I like this cutscene because one of the guys on the gun just says, well, fuck this thing, turns the giant railway gun at the thing's head and blows its head off, and then they just drive away with it. And your little NEVEC soldiers, they're just like, dang it, we didn't get the railway gun. And then the Akrid starts regrowing its head, and you're like, well, shit.
Okay, so I'm going to say it. The spider Akrid, or whatever insect Akrid it is a huge step down from the salamander in episode 1.
I remember it being so annoying.
It's really annoying. It has a lot of arena-filling attacks that are really difficult to dodge. And really, the only strategy to killing it is just to stand there and shoot it in its glowing weak points for like 5 minutes, and then it dies.
Yeah.
And then you get it down, and it just gets all its health back.
You're just like, oh.
Cool. I felt like a sense of satisfaction from finishing it, but now it's back, and I have to do it again.
Yeah, these were like my memories of playing this during those lengthy summer mornings, is just like it was a slog to go through some of these fights. And that kind of made me wonder, like, what were my rose-tinted glasses seeing? Because when these things...
Mine were just the salamander demo.
Yeah.
You can understand that.
Mine was that. Mine was quite a lot of chapter 3.
Yeah.
And a few highlights from 4 and 6. But then the thing is that we then saw this boss, and I was like, oh yeah, no, I do remember this thing. This thing sucked. And
like, it's such a huge step down from the previous boss fight. It's really depressing.
Yeah. As a result of that, I ain't got much more to say other than that once the mission gets done, then all your NEVEC buddies turn up. And they're all looking down on your characters a lot, because it turns out they're all clones of a guy from Lost Planet 1. And that's like a weird faux pas.
Yeah, yeah.
For one reason or another, like people are weird about it. I mean, I don't know, maybe that guy blew up NEVEC or something in a previous timeline, I don't know.
Who knows what happened in that game, no one's played it.
I just assumed everyone was little frosty boys. I don't know. It's like a Christmas special.
Yeah. I would love a Lost Planet, like, Nights into Dreams Christmas special.
Santa Claus saves EDN III.
Fights a big worm.
How the Akrid stole Christmas.
And speaking of a big worm, Connor, let's talk about the highest of peaks and the lowest of valleys. That is episode 3.
Episode 3, tagline, Libera Me.
Because now we're getting fancy with this game, I guess.
Well, I guess they tried to channel their inner Gurren Lagann because they made you fight the biggest enemy in the game.
A worm!
A worm! Hey guys, have you seen Dune?
No.
Yeah, it's really long.
Yeah, it's true. So chapter 3, I believe you're playing as the sand pirates, am I correct?
These guys aren't sand pirates, they're snow pirates who are currently in the sand place.
And they're the guys who stole the gun, right? Because they have the railgun.
Oh no, they don't at the start.
Did they not?
They don't at the start. You hijack the railway gun in the middle of the chapter, which is the thing that I remembered being cool, not so great in gameplay. But it turns out they'd done some unrelated job to get some T-energy.
Oh yes, because you're on a train. What they say is that the worm is pursuing you, basically, and your driver says, "Our cargo's too heavy. Quick, fire the guns at it, because it will make the train less heavy." So you just basically... Oh, I have a real bone to pick with this level, I just remembered. Because basically, it's a really long cargo train with, like, I would say 30 carriages, basically.
Yeah.
And the idea is that you have to repel the worm from swallowing the train. He will eat carriages one at a time, but you're trying to slow that process as much as possible.
Yeah.
So what happened to me is that I went all the way to the bottom of the train, picking up heavy weapons on the way and firing them at him.
Yeah.
It was all going well. You get to the end, and they say, okay, great, the helicopter's here, this train's fucked, let's go. And you can't see the helicopter on any carriage other than the last one.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I spent what felt like 19 years of my life walking so slowly along this train to get to the end, not even knowing if I was going the right way to the helicopter. and then getting to the end, and then because the game has such a really tight field of view, so you can't see anything but your man's huge shoulders in the fucking camera, I ran off the train and died, and respawned at the back of the train. So I had to run through the train again to get to the fucking helicopter. And I was just like, no, you can't do this to me. I built this company.
You know what makes this so good?
What?
This is one of the only chapters in the game that has one area, one mission, and that's that segment.
I know. And I wish there were more, because then there'd be less time before you have to do the next part of the area, which I hate more than the first part.
Oh, God. Yeah.
Actually, not entirely true. I am omitting one detail. Free 2 is actually set in a Mexican village-looking place.
Yeah, you're in Mexican Mission.
Yeah, it looks like Mexican Mission. It has those classic, like, open stone houses, basically.
Yeah.
And it starts off with you having to reclaim this area from a bunch of, whatever faction it is, probably NEVEC.
It's Sand Raiders.
Sand Raiders, yeah. And you basically fight them for control of the city, and then once you've claimed it, you get attacked by a bunch of Akrid, and it's then about repelling the Akrid in those same areas. And I actually think that's kind of cool, because it's like, oh, first you have to claim it from the humans, and then you have to hold it from the monsters. Like, that's a good, like, duality of gameplay. And, like, it makes you think about the levels in a different way, because once the Akrid show up, they actually start destroying the buildings that you've been using for cover against the humans.
Yeah.
And that's actually kind of cool. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, no, it's not a bad combat arena. The context being that after you've gotten on the helicopter with the last of your T-energy and flown out, which they then say in the cutscene, we've burnt through all the T-energy that we collected. You just
cut to, like, the pilot who's got, like, a sippy cup where it's just he's stuffing up T-energy at alarming rates.
They go like, we're gonna set down in this village, it looks abandoned. They immediately get shot at with a missile. And then you have to fight your way through this and hijack another train once you defeat these two Akrid, which work off sound. They can, if you make a sound, they'll find you. Problem is that I'm obviously trying to blow them up, so I'm going to be making a lot of sound.
I can't damage it in any other way than shooting it with a loud gun.
Yeah.
So what's the play here?
But once again, guess what? We've broken even. We've gotten a new train, no T-energy. And now they can finally go back to going back to their snow place that that's what they're trying to do, apparently. They're trying to go home.
They're trying to cross the desert, yeah.
On this train. And then as they are going along, the railway gun just appears on a parallel track. And they're just like, oh, I guess we're shooting each other.
Yeah. And this leads into one of the missions that gave me the most anger when I was replaying the game, because the other train is going by you so slowly. It's like moving at like 1 mile per day. Like, it's just like, and the guys are all just standing on the other train, just like trying to shoot you, but they suck. They're all missing, and you're just standing there taking pot shots. It doesn't matter at all. It's like, fucking awful.
They fire 1,000 missiles or so at you, and your train's fine, and it's just like, this just feels weird.
Yeah, but your train has like a single carriage. You can be in the train, or you can be on top of it, and there's like no cover on top of it. So it's awful up there.
Unless you go into the pilot seat, that's it.
And then they just start firing little like drones at you that are really annoying.
Like, drones suck, yeah.
So it was such a big pain in the butt.
It's such a wonderful game.
No. No, I'll tell you for why, Connor, because then you get to mission whatever 312 or whatever it is, where you have to jump from your train carriage to their train, because they're blowing up your train, basically.
You have to do a really slow QuickTime event.
You have to do an incredibly slow QuickTime event, which I presume if you lose, you have to go back to the first mission again.
No, I think this happened to us!
Yeah, it did.
Because I think when we played this in 2021, we were like, oh cool, the mission's over. We started taking out our phones, and then a QuickTime event happened, and we were like, oh wait, shit. And we blew the fuck up and had to do it again.
It fucking sucked, honestly. It was a nightmare. Especially when you get to the next level, which is, alright, there are 2 trains. I don't know where the second train came from, but there are 2 trains now.
Well, the railway gun is made up of 2 trains.
Whatever. Who cares? There are 2 trains. Your objective is to basically walk up the 2 trains, activating 3 data posts as you go. I fucking hate this mission so much. Oh my God. Because you're just going up a train. And there's nowhere to go.
Yeah.
You're trying to jump from train to train. Sometimes the grappling hook just doesn't fucking work. And then you fall to your death.
Yeah, you just plummet.
And guess what? It's back to the start of the train for you, dumbass. Like,
unless you've activated a data post, and even then, it's
And for me, this mission exemplifies every issue I have with the controls, because it's so slow and awkward. Like, the idea of navigating two moving trains as they go by each other is really fun and interesting, but you're so slow, so it feels terrible. And all the enemies are just standing in random places in the open firing at you, and it's like, this isn't design, this is just guys standing here. There's something clever about this.
I mean, it's obviously trying to save its cards for when the sandworm comes back. But this time you have a big enough gun. You can hijack the railway gun and start shooting the sandworm with it, which is mostly just you having to shoot all these little like spots on its back.
Yeah, it's got glowing weak points, of course.
Yeah. And then, it does admittedly does kind of a cool thing by the end of it, which is that when it's on its last legs, it tries to swallow the train gun whole, so you have to turn the train gun round and fire directly into its mouth to get it to finally
let me talk
piss
about
off.
this fucking railgun now, Connor. I'm furious. I'm so upset.
I know exactly what you're going to say. Please go on.
Well, I have two stories. I have the story from our first playthrough and the story from our second playthrough. Because when you're given control of this railgun, it's a quite complex machine.
Yeah.
With a lot of moving parts. And it doesn't tell you how it works at all. It's just like, figure it out, stupid. I kept having moments where, for reasons that I didn't understand, I couldn't like turn the gun or I couldn't energize, and it wouldn't tell me why. And I'm like, what do you want from me? Just give me an instruction, man. Just tell me what I'm doing here. I don't know how to work this big gun. You didn't tell me how.
Well, it doesn't help because I think it does give you tips on how to use it, but it's coming through in-game dialogue that is directly supposed to sound like a machine. So it's all like, it's not using it in layman's terms.
Yeah. And like, it comes up with this big diagram, but none of the things are labeled. So it's like, what does any of this mean? Like,
yeah, I eventually figured out what that did. It just refers to what rounds you've got in the gun and where they are at in the gun. Because effectively, in order to use the railway gun, you need to pick up shells scattered across the train and bring them to the railway gun to load them in manually. You then can energize the shots to make them more powerful and to fire faster, and then they will go up into the barrel and they'll be ready to fire. Which, here's the thing, 4-player co-op mission, not a bad idea. You got your loaders, your energizers, your people who are trying to find more bullets, and you got the person piloting it to shoot. What it also means is that because the railway gun is so slow, you want other people with you to be spotters of like, oh, the sandworm's on the right hand side, like starboard side, so start turning the gun to go and like shoot them. Otherwise, if you're on the gun by yourself and you've got no one else helping you, you're just like, okay, I don't have surround sound, so I think it's on my left. Oh, nope, can't see it at all. Maybe it was there and I was just too slow and now it's gone.
Yeah.
Where the fuck is the worm?
But this is a great way to put a pin through our playthrough and my playthrough. Because in our playthrough, we were playing 2-player co-op, no AI partners. We didn't have enough people to operate the gun effectively. So we kept dying on this mission. And if you die in Episode 2, Chapter 3, Mission 4, you go back to the start of Mission 1, and you have to do the fucking really slow train sequence again, and capturing the data post again. And we died like 3 times to that stupid worm, because at the very end, you have to shoot it before it swallows the entire ship whole. And if you're too slow, that's it. Mission over, back to Mission 1 again, you clod.
Oh, I've remembered another song from Lost Planet. We were talking earlier about how we don't remember any songs from this game. And I was like, that's not true, Ash. I remember the main menu theme. And you're like, yeah, no, duh, it's the only song you'd hear consistently throughout the game.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh no, I remember a part of the Sandworm train theme.
Wow.
Where it goes, brr 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 brum, brr 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 brum.
It does.
And then, you get swallowed whole and you die and you have to do the whole fucking thing again.
Fucking Diet Pepsi Winds of Madness from Resident Evil 5. But Connor, this is where it gets fucked up. If you're playing with free AI partners, the only thing they know how to do is to load the bullets.
Yeah, they don't even energize it!
They don't energize it, and very specifically, they don't fire the gun, nor do they go to the bowels of the ship and activate the coolant, which you need to recover the ship's damage.
Right, yes!
And let me tell you for what, Connor. Let's get into it. Because the gun is at the very top of this fucking ship, and then the coolant is 3 layers down, but there's no clear path to the coolant from the gun.
And the gun moves, so it changes what you can latch onto and jump onto.
So going down from the gun to the coolant and vice versa is an exercise in fucking frustration because you keep falling off the goddamn ship because you have to like jump down it with this slow ass moon movement. And it's fucking infuriating because you use the coolant and then you start trying to go up the fucking purgatory mountain to get back to the gun and the worm hits you again. You have to go back down and hit the coolant. It drove me insane. I've become a woman of anger, an avatar of destruction, and it's all because of this worm, which conceptually is really cool.
Well, that's the thing. This idea of having this complicated machine is conceptually really cool for a 4-player game.
Yeah.
You know, your gun loader, your energizer slash spotter, your gunner who's actually shooting, and the coolant guy.
Yeah.
There you go.
Because also the worm is shooting out little guys at you.
Yeah. Imagine playing fucking Armor and you have to do everything in your army. You're not on a server with 32 other fucking people who are all doing all the battlefield roles for your milsim. Nah, brother, slash sister, slash other. You are fucking doing it all.
Yeah, but also, the entire time you're doing it, Goku Sephiroth is there yelling at you. You're not doing anything, and it's like, ugh. That's episode 3.
That's episode 3.
We got so frustrated when we did this together that we actually stopped playing Lost Planet 2 for a while.
We did.
And we went to go play Rule of Rose instead, which was completely not frustrating in any way. We were having a bad time back then.
It was not a good time. I'll elaborate a bit more on chapter 3, because I'll say one thing about chapter 3. I like the fact that this chapter is basically a bunch of hitchhikers stole a fucking railway gun and blew up the biggest Akrid on the planet with it.
Yeah, I actually really like the narrative setup of episode 3 and episode 5, because both of them just seem to be, hey yo, living here sucks. Yeah. And you're just trying to do something and a worm will show up and fuck your day up.
Yeah.
And that's actually like, that gets across the threat of the planet much better than the other episodes do.
And much more than the NEVEC jargon or anything like that. In fact, I would have preferred if this game had followed one narrative path starting with these guys and them discovering the rest of this stuff to actually, you know, make a story around characters. I think that's more fun. Then you've got like scrappy ragtag people. They're still pirates.
Yeah.
They go and interact with the other factions. And by interact, you obviously mean fight. But there's like something going on there that's focused on the people of the planet and them. Because this game, spoilers ahead, ends with basically all of the pirates rallying together to rise up against NEVEC and stop planetary annihilation. And
it just doesn't feel earned.
No, it doesn't.
All I've done with these other factions is shoot at them for a bit.
Yeah. This entire storyline, the only people who actually matter in it are the NEVEC people who drive the plot. Somehow.
The ex-NEVEC people, yeah.
And these guys. These are the only ones that do anything in this story. Everyone else is just like Snow Pirates, like, oh, we got double cross.
Yeah, fuck.
Who's behind this? You'll find out in chapter 6.
It turns out we have a vested interest in the planet not blowing up. Well, speaking of the NEVEC guys, shall we go on to episode 4?
Counter-Strike.
Counter-Strike.
That's the name of this chapter. Yes, welcome to Counter-Strike Source.
So, Counter-Strike 2 begins with... I think it's the guys from episode 2 or 1, but they're in jail.
No, this is what I thought when I initially played it as well, but it turns out a bunch of people realized that NEVEC were going to destroy the planet because a bunch of guys in NEVEC saw a big blob on the horizon that had swallowed up like a bunch of villages or something. And they were like, oh, that's pretty bad. And they found out that what NEVEC was going to do is that they were going to let this thing grow, blow it up with a space satellite, harvest all of the thermal energy inside of it, which is effectively all the thermal energy on the planet. Like, the planet is beginning to freeze over again because of this big thing. And then apparently most of NEVEC just said, nah,
that's stupid.
Fuck that, that's stupid. So we're playing as new NEVEC. Ex-NEVEC, yeah, who have been kidnapped by the carpetbaggers while trying to get data on this weapon that NEVEC had made. And the carpetbaggers are just bad guys. Like, they've probably got their reasons, they're trying to get by, but they're just a thorn in everyone's side.
I think that they're the ones keeping you prisoner at the start of episode 4. Right?
Yeah, they are, because the only carpetbagger to not have an incredibly racist accent starts handing you guys a shitty little pistol and goes, and like, I'm on your side.
How do we know we can trust you? You can't, but...
I'm the guy who brought your friends here, and then...
he gets immediately shot and killed.
Yeah, he gets immediately shot and killed, so it's like, well, there goes that dilemma. And then they break out of jail.
And then, alright, here we go again. 4-1. You're in this prison. I believe the objective is to capture some data posts.
Yeah, 2 data posts.
Yeah. So what you think is okay, I'll start going up. That's fine. I start going up. I get the data post, all as well. I have no idea where to go next. And let me tell you about this, Connor. In chapter 4, episode 4, chapter 1, mission 1, area 1. There is no music.
No, there isn't.
There's no music. It's so quiet.
It happens in a lot of chapter 4.
Yeah.
I've noticed this while playing it, where I was like, what the fuck is...
So smash cut to me in this grey-brown prison walking around with no music after my work day, trying to find the way out and being like, I just don't know where I'm going. And then it turns out you have to go down this really well-hidden set of stairs.
Okay, imagine me doing exactly the same thing, because I had this exact same problem. Imagine this, but every time I would turn around, one of my guys would be doing a Russian Cossack dance.
See, I hadn't set any emotes, so my guys didn't do anything. They just stood around like, what? One of them was just going up and down a ladder perpetually forever, and I was like, that's how I feel, bro. That's where I'm at.
I kept finding a weird dynamic where player 3 would always be separate from everyone else. And I'd be like, player 3, have we fallen out with you? What's happened? Why do you never want to hang out with us?
Why are you never doing the Russian dance?
Why are you never doing the Russian dance?
Come on.
They just... Again, can't stay mad at them.
Anyway, 4-2 is a sewer level.
And boy, am I glad I had a flamethrower for this one.
I did not. Because these sewers, oh my god. There's so much Akrid bullshit going on in there. It's like you turn a corner and the screen is entirely filled with 19 different Akrid, and I'm just blasting. I'm just trying to shoot them all down, but there's too many, so I fall down a hole and I fall into the end of the level. And it took me, I will tell you for free, Connor, literally 50 seconds.
Wow, speedrun!
And I was like, wow, I'm the best there ever was.
See, that was the one where a guy started swallowing me whole. And
anyway, I'm going to read to you my notes on 4-3 in their entirety.
All right.
Back to city, 5 turrets next to each other. Jesus fucking Christ. Because, oh my god, you go back to the city and you're trying to move up this like sewer grate, but it's like above ground sewer grate basically.
Yeah.
And there's just 5 turrets all next to each other. And they're just firing constantly.
Yeah.
And all you can do is just take pot shots. But Connor, I'll tell you this for free. If you go out of your cover and they start shooting you, they stun lock you, so you can't shoot them back. So you're just sitting there throwing grenades over the top, hoping one of them will blow up. And it's like, who made this game? Was it a 5-year-old with level editing tools who just put a million things everywhere?
Fucking hell. Yeah, no, I think it's, because I swear that shortly after this you have the submarine hijack, right?
Episode 4, it's the longest episode by far. It has like twice the number of levels as the other episodes do.
Yeah.
And it also has the biggest jump in aesthetics. Because after you do this above ground sewer section, you then make your way to what is basically like a dock.
Yeah, for submarines.
Yeah, for submarines. And before you can take a submarine, you have to capture all 5 data points, which isn't, you know, yeah, everyone knows. Which isn't so bad. But then, so you capture all 5 of the data points, right? You steal a submarine and you're driving the submarine very slowly down this tunnel, and there's a million guys shooting you and there is no cover on the submarine.
No, there ain't.
You're just standing there getting shot, and then you die, and then the level ends, and that's all you did.
Here's another thing about this as well I want to add to this. You better hope you took all your ammo with you.
Yeah, right? Because there's no weapons on the ship.
There's no weapons except for maybe like a single minigun that's on the submarine.
Yeah.
And the enemies that you kill around you will be surrounded with weapons and also little, question mark boxes to get.
Yeah.
Now, it is at such a close distance that even with your shitty grapple hook, you could get over there.
Yeah.
But there's an invisible wall surrounding you.
You have to stay on the submarine.
And what was happening today was that 2 of my guys didn't get on the submarine. So I had 2 of the companions just running around on the boardwalk.
See, I only had 1 guy on my submarine either, but the other 2 guys were missing. Oh, like they just weren't there. So it was just me and this 1 guy getting shot over and over. That was the entire level.
That's probably the worst of like the kind of like rail shooter moments in that game.
It's truly, what were they thinking? How was there no cover on that submarine?
Yeah.
Like, I think they just expect someone to report a shield.
Yeah.
But the AI doesn't use shields.
That's the thing, mine did.
I never saw mine do a shield.
But they never used them in a place where it was appropriate. They would shuffle around with shields when nobody was around. It's like, what are you protecting yourself from? The cold?
I don't think you have to capture another base.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you have to go underwater at some point.
That's
in
the
vital suits.
Because what you do first is you do a fucking Normandy level.
Yes, you do a Normandy level.
You're going across these beaches trying to assault like these like cliff-mounted turret guns, basically, with the added beauty that there are a bunch of lightning fields that you have to turn off as you make your way through it. And I'll be honest, that one's kind of fun. It's got a kind of sense of like style and like gravitas to it because you're going through the rain and there's all this lightning everywhere.
While I was just like basically spawn camping the D-Day spawns.
Well, it's big of you to admit that. Spawn camping on D-Day. That's my grandpa's heroic story.
Your grandpa was in the Axis?
Anyway.
I think it's after this point you end up on that level where you need to have either a jump pack or a
there is the mission where you go underwater.
Oh, right, before that, yeah.
Which has the big jellyfish Akrid.
Yeah, you have to fight these big jellyfish, and then there's like these two manta ray things.
There's a bunch of like mech fights down there, which are okay, I guess.
Yeah.
Maybe a bit overwrought.
You can jump onto these little like water geysers, and they propel you upward, and you're like, oh.
And then you get onto the next knife in my fucking back corner. Because the mission after that, as you say, it's an oil rig, and the objective is you have to cross a bridge that is raised, so you can't walk over it, and then hack the controls from the other side. The way this is achieved is there's a helicopter on your side, and you have to fly the helicopter over, and then land it, and then bring the bridge down for your friends. However, Connor, I didn't quite understand how the helicopter controls worked.
Me neither.
Basically, you get into a helicopter, it stays at the same elevation unless you press, I think it's Y, and it will go up. And then if you press B, it will go down, and when it hits the ground, you can then get out of it.
Oh, I fucked up my control scheme because I pressed B and my character got out of the helicopter and I plummeted to my death.
Well, in my case, I pressed B for it to start going down, but it just drops. It's not a control descent. It just goes woo like that. And I hadn't lined it up properly, so the helicopter plummeted into the ocean and then crashed and broke. And then I went back to the start and there wasn't a helicopter anymore. So I couldn't beat the level. I had to quit to the main menu and restart it from 2 levels ago. Because it's area 3 of a mission rather than the first mission.
Hey, you know what other game came out this year? The year 2010?
Final Fantasy 13.
Halo Reach.
That game's alright.
You got a Falcon in it.
Yeah.
You got the Falcon. It's a significantly better air vehicle, and in the mission where you need a Falcon to get around, you know what happens when you lose your Falcon?
Respawns.
You get another one. Cat straight up on the radio just goes, hey, here's a new Falcon.
I was so angry about it. I was sitting there like, I can't believe I have to replay the underwater tunnel mission because of this. Like, how could they do this to me? Because I was just walking around it for like 10 minutes trying to find another helicopter. I even killed myself a few times to see if it would respawn.
Yeah.
And no, it just never came back.
Fucking hell. Yeah, no, that one sucks.
Yeah. There is a cool, you can get a VS with a like a laser sword.
Oh no, that one's fun.
That's alright.
Yeah, no, that's the thing. It's weird. This game's melee systems, for the few melee weapons you get, are really fun.
Yeah.
But that's because they almost completely remove combat, because you hit thing in one, you kill them in one hit.
Yeah, kill them in one hit.
And you don't have to worry about the tedium of like having to spray 1,000,000 bullets from your shitty machine gun at them.
Yeah. You then go on to 410, which is how I've categorized them, which is an underwater base. The idea is that it's basically a series of mazes. But it's a maze in the rogue sense, where it's a bunch of empty rooms connected with corridors. And then when you activate certain data posts, it will unlock other doors and other parts of the map. So you're just going through these empty, pointless rooms, finding data points, and then going back on yourself to find the way forward, basically.
Holy crap, this is complete white noise to me.
Yeah, 4 is a long episode. There's a lot that happens in 4.
I think there are 5 chapters to it.
Yeah, 5. And by my count, there are 11 individual missions. With 11 being... Oh, yes. This one's actually pretty cool because it's an underwater rig, like oil rig, basically. So you're completely submerged in water, and at the very bottom of the base, there's like a lava vein that they're mining, basically. And you have to go down it and, say the line bar, capture all the data points.
Woo!
And then once you've got them, you get attacked by an experimental armor, who's like a massive submarine that you have to fire missiles at, basically.
Yeah.
Tell you what, give you the facts on this one. Boss sucks. It just swims around you in a circle and you shoot it for about 20 minutes.
Yeah,
and
this one was another one that took us for fucking ever when we were playing this one.
Only 2 of us.
Yeah.
And they don't balance the health pool seemingly, so it just took so much time.
You know what made this even better at the time we were playing it in 2021?
What's that?
I remember saying to you, I think I remember there's only 5 chapters of Lost Planet.
And I was holding on to that hope because at this point my spirit was broken.
Well, because at this point I was like, I'm trying to remember Lost Planet 2's story. Like, yeah, we play as the ex-NEVEC guys. You play most of the game as the ex-NEVEC guys.
Yeah.
And like, after we do this, then we go and fight the Overg, which is the big blob thing.
Yeah.
And we have the little space bit, and then that's the end of the game, right? No, it turns out Chapter 5, which has been christened Treasure Borrachos, happens.
Which really should be renamed to Episode 3, Part 2.
Yeah.
Because aesthetically, it's just the desert again, and you're on a train.
Well, you're on a hovercraft, like a giant hovercraft?
It's like a boat, but it's going through sand.
And the idea is that you are basically playing as a faction called the Fight Junkies.
In my version of the game, they were called the Vagabundos.
Oh, that's the sub name for them, the Vagabundos. They are, who basically, they just see this big fucking thing and go, let's steal it. It starts out with this cutscene of like 5 of them getting little rocket launchers out, being like, let's shoot it in the intakes, and it doesn't work, and they go, what? They get immediately all shot to death, and then an army of like 1 million of them.
On, like, speeders, yeah. But like, the Vagabundos have personality, like your 12-year-old cousin has personality. Like, they're so annoying. They're so just like, let's go, guy, what?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, you losers.
And here's the thing. I like the concept of like, hey, here's a chapter where you play as the bandits, basically, and you're gonna go steal this thing. Like, that's kind of fun.
I mean, the opening is really cool because you're like a massive flock of bandits on these speeders, and you're having to catch up with a ship to overtake it and then land on it. Slightly undercut by the fact that it takes 30 seconds to get to the ship, and then you get off the speeder, and that's the end of that.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, here we are, we made it, we're on a sand boat again.
Back to land combat in Lost Planet, shooting at dudes again.
Oh, baby.
Which, you know what, I'll give you something. I've just made a Halo Reach comparison earlier on about how Halo Reach did something better.
Yeah.
This is something that I think Lost Planet 2 does better than Halo Reach.
Oh.
Tip of the spear. Great cutscene, but that's all it is. The fleet of mongooses and warthogs going along should have been a gameplay sequence.
Yeah.
Should have let you actually play that, and
cool.
also to have let, you know, the rest of the song play in the soundtrack, because it's really good.
It is really good.
Instead, you just hijack this massive hovercraft.
Yeah.
You open up the back door so the rest of your boys can get in.
Well, there's a mission in between that, which is you have to capture 2 data points.
And so that
one
you can...
on the bottom, one on the top, and you have to hold them both for 90 seconds.
Yes, yeah.
The AI is fucking useless. They don't do anything. They're just fucking around. They're like, Huey, where are they? I don't know. So I had to just keep running between the 2 data points to capture them, and then I'd run all the way to the other one. Guess what? They'd capture the other one. Run all the way back, capture the other one.
It's just so much busy work.
Infuriating. Oh my god. It made me so angry.
Flamethrower.
Well, I
Which
mean,
now that I keep saying this, it's like, well, if you have the post-game unlockable weapon, it's more fun. And
I
it's
can't
like,
complain that there's no female characters in the story, and you're like, well, when you beat the game, you can play as them as a custom character. It's like, oh, cool, thanks. But then we get onto 5-3. I fucking hate 5-3. Oh my god.
Now, do you mind if I cut in on this?
Go ahead,
this one?
yeah. Please deflate my pointless anger.
So, as I said, I thought there were only 5 chapters in this game. I'd completely forgotten about Chapter 5. So when Chapter 5 popped up, I went...
Please give it the respect it
Episode
deserves.
5. Episode 5 loaded up, and I was like, I don't remember ever having to play as jungle pirates. And then I did the cutscene with the
Vagabundos.
The Vagabundos. And I'm just like, oh, okay. I've somehow completely forgotten this, and you were crestfallen because
I was hoping to play Rule of Rose.
there was more Lost Planet 2 to play.
An entire new episode.
And I was just like, yeah, I don't I mean, this is kind of cool to be on the speeders. I mean, okay, this objective's a bit tedious, but sure, whatever. After you go through all the efforts to capture this big ship, another ship turns up, and they go like, all right, well, it's time to fight their ship with our ship. And it turns out at the top of the ship is a giant laser cannon.
Wait, Connor. I'm sorry to say, but you're getting ahead of yourself again.
What?
There's a mission before that.
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 What?
So another ship shows up, but it's not the ship you're thinking about. What happens here is that you have to go onto that ship and capture a data point while not allowing the enemy to get onto your ship and capture your data point.
Oh, fuck, no, I remember this now.
Now, let me tell you something. Let me get you the facts on this. The fucking bar for the data points, there's a blue one and a red one. You would think that you capturing the enemy data point would make the red one go down because it's the enemy's data point.
Yeah.
No, it makes the blue one go down. So I got to the other ship, having fallen off of it 5 times because the grappling hook kept breaking on nothing. And I captured the data point, and I thought there were 2 because the red one didn't start going down. And I said to myself, okay, fine. Where's the other one? I then noticed the blue one going down and thought, oh no, they've got our data point. What were the AI doing? I go back to the other ship. I shoot all the guys who have entered it. The AI are standing there doing nothing. And I look, and our data point isn't captured. And I think to myself, wait, what's going on? Why is it going down then? And I realize it's because when you get their data point, your bar goes down. So then I had to run back onto the other ship, get the data point again, and then, Connor, you get a timer because the other ship is exploding. They're self-destructing it to kill you, basically, because it's lost. And so it says, all right, get to your ship as quickly as possible, and then that's the mission. But you go back to your ship, and the mission doesn't end. You have to wait for the full timer to go down. So I was standing there going, wait, am I on the right ship? Is this where I'm supposed to be? And the fucking objective, the mini-map, has a blue dot that tells you where to go. And the blue dot was on the other ship. And I was like, wait, but this is my ship. And I was so worried that when I got to the end of that timer, I would die and have to do the whole thing again. But no, I was in the right place. But I was so confused. I was like, am I meant to be here? Like, why are you doing it like this?
And this is why we play games like Lost Planet 2. Because I want to bamboozle Ash to the best of my abilities.
I'm just getting so upset, but these missions make me so angry.
Well, no, this one's stupid.
Yeah.
Like, Chapter 5, despite having a relatively strong opening for Lost Planet 2, it's so much busy work. I remember the red bar thing, because in other missions, it kind of acts as a health bar of, like, how many enemies you need to kill.
Yeah.
And it's like, so yeah, you would assume that's the enemy's bar. You'd want that to go down, but it's like, why would you do it like that?
I was fuming. I was sitting there in my chair, just shaking with anger, just like, oh my god, this game is so stupid.
Shall we move on to laser mission?
No, because you're wrong again.
What?
You fight the Akrid before you fight the other ship again.
What the fuck is the Akrid on this one?
It's just another big arm guy.
What?
With the arms, and you have to shoot the railgun at him.
No, I remember him reoccurring. I just thought he became a regular enemy.
No, so it's a much bigger version, but it's the same gimmick where he has points on his arms and legs that you have to shoot with the railgun.
Oh. Even after playing it like twice over, like I've forgotten Chapter 5.
And then after that, another NEVEC ship shows up.
Yes, another NEVEC ship, but you're not,
Connor.
Hi, Ash.
What do you gotta do to this ship?
You have to activate the laser cannon that is on the top of your ship so that you can take down this other ship. You've just decided you're not even gonna board it. You're just gonna blow it the fuck up.
Fuck those guys, get him out of there.
You're not gonna get onto it and get it to self-destruct. Nah, we're just gonna shoot the shit out of it. And so you have to control this laser cannon to attack specific parts of the ship. And as you do so, the pilot goes, "Woo! Keep it up! I want to see those wings coming off!"
And he says it every 10 seconds.
Yes.
Constantly, until you've beaten it.
And I had a Vietnam flashback.
You weren't even in Vietnam.
And I remembered why this game is such a strong memory of the Saturday morning malaise.
Yeah.
Because
The SMM.
I kid you not, I had blocked out this chapter because it fucking blows. But this line was like a Manchurian Candidate activation phrase. It fucking did something to my brain chemistry. And I just said to Ash, oh no. Oh no.
And I seem to remember that when episode 5 was happening, I kept going, Connor. You said there was only 5 episodes in this game, Connor.
Oh no.
And now we're here trying to get the wings to come off.
And he wanted to see those wings coming off. And guess what? You shoot the wings off. And he keeps saying it. And you're like, what do you mean? There can't be more wings. And it turns out you have to shoot other parts of the ship, but
and
he
the
doesn't.
feedback is so bad because you're just shooting this cannon at parts of a ship and there's no health bar or indication that you're doing any damage. Eventually it just slides off and it's like, what? How was I meant to know this is doing anything? And they also have their own laser cannon, which you have to keep breaking.
Yeah, you have to shoot theirs.
Yeah,
and it's just
because they fix it, and then you have to shoot it again. And it's like, oh my god.
Fucking trench warfare, but on giant hovercrafts in the sand.
You also have to shoot the laser gun with thermal energy to like make it more effective.
Oh my fucking god. So yeah, chapter 5 blows.
Episode 5 blows.
Why wouldn't you make it chapter episode? Why would you make it episode chapter? Does someone who knows more about like how you break down fiction, is that the right terminology? Because to me it ain't. It don't make sense in my little farmer brain, in my little farming kingdom I'm from.
We're gonna have to see the Japanese script. See what their terminology is.
Oh god. So then we finally get to the final episode.
Meltdown. So at the start of episode 6 of Lost Planet 2, you're in space.
When did we get to space?
So at the end of the underwater base, what you're doing down there is trying to get to some shuttles that will take you to space. Because NEVEC have a giant space station.
That's got a big cannon on it, and they're going to shoot the overG.
Yes. To make it explode.
Well, so yeah, you board it and you go to take it over, right? Because you don't want NEVEC to do that.
Yeah, it's kind of cool though, because you're on a shuttle and then your shuttle gets blown up, and then you have to fly through space to get onto their space station. That's kind of a cool section.
It doesn't control great,
but you've got like moon gravity and thrusters and stuff. That kind of makes the movement a bit more fun.
That's the thing. There's small points where this game has some small ideas, but they're scattered between all the really crap bits.
Yeah.
The sand train is a really good idea. The jungle pirate bit is a good idea. But then you have to immediately follow it up with like 4 to 5 missions of shooting.
Yeah, in this episode alone, like the first mission is you using your thrusters to get onto the shuttle, which takes a minute. And then the next mission is capture 5 data points on the space station. And then the next mission is capture 5 data points inside the space station. I will say though, that second one is actually kind of cool because you're in the firing ray of the massive cannon on the space station and you're going up this big cylindrical tube activating data points around the big cannon basically. And it's being fired periodically, so like the chamber fills with a massive energy beam that will kill you and enemies if you're in it at the time that it goes off.
Makes me think of the Death Star map in Battlefront.
Yeah.
You get to fight.
Makes you think of happier times. So anyway, after you do the cylindrical tube mission, you have to defend some VSs from other VSs.
Yeah, aren't they the space VSs you're defending?
VSs you need to enter the atmosphere, yeah.
And after you do that, the clone guys from before turn up. And you go, hey, aren't you with NEVEC? And they go, no, NEVEC
Your captain's
hates.
like, no, you can trust those guys.
Yeah, by the way, the only way you can tell who the captain is out of all the NEVEC guys, because they're all wearing the exact same helmet, and no one in this game you ever see their mouth. Like, everyone's got something covering their face.
Yeah, someone takes their helmet off, and you can see their face, but not their mouth, because they're wearing like a mask over it.
Yeah, I think it's the clone guys, they do it. And
because he's the only character from Planet 1.
The only way you can tell who the captain of ex-NEVEC is that he's got, like, white pants.
And he talks like a commander. He's like, you boys get out of there all right.
He's always got his hands behind his back. He's no gun commander.
He's no gun commander or the general.
Who could be? But yeah, they go like, no, we'll sacrifice ourselves. We'll pilot this thing and we'll use it if we need to destroy the overG.
Yeah, and they want to fight to protect the life that they have carved for themselves on EDN III.
Yeah.
Which by all accounts seems to suck.
Well, I guess they don't have any other way to leave.
Yeah.
I don't see a single, like, interstellar spaceship anywhere in this game, so...
You then get on to what is one of the weirdest missions in the game, which is when you have to use the space VSs to re-enter the atmosphere of EDN III. Which... in a better game would have been really cool because what you're doing is you're basically just falling like it's Halo Reach back towards the planet. Although for some reason the atmosphere of EDN III is littered with 10,000 space mines, which you have to dodge. While you're doing this, the guys who have remained behind in the space station are giving a stirring speech about how we all have to come together and put aside our differences to stop the horrible machinations of NEVEC.
You know, yeah, I was honestly, I was on the fence. I thought NEVEC might have been the good guys, but you know what? After I heard that, I was fairly convinced.
That speech is kind of stirring, but the game hasn't earned it at all. Because they're giving a speech about life on this planet, and I don't know what life on this planet is fucking like.
Life on this planet seems awful.
Yeah. And they're all talking about how they have to defend their home and come together, and it's like, who are you guys? What are you talking about?
Well, this is the thing. We're missing the context that in Lost Planet 1, there's a bunch of homely scenes where everyone's sitting around drinking hot chocolate. And
we didn't read the Lost Planet 2 novella, so...
No, we didn't. Yeah, it's like Balan Wonderworld. All the story was inside of a tie-in novel. Anyway, tell me more about Captain Wingus and his dinguses. No, I know what happens next. You fall from fucking space, and then you land in a snow zone, and it's like, hey, remember Lost Planet 1? As you fucking, like, have to shoot through a bunch of guys, and it's like, alright.
It says on my notes, Connor.
What does it say?
It says, run through snow for a bit, activate data posts.
You sure fucking activate data posts in the snow, don't you?
Right at the end, a massive Akrid comes down, and it's like, you will face me in battle, snow pirates, da 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 da, and then you can just see the red level ending line behind him, so you just run past him and the level ends. And he's like, no, come back!
No, stop, come back.
It then becomes Call of Duty Zombies. Because you're in, like, this fortress in the middle of a snowy tundra, where visibility is really poor, because of the snow, obviously, and you have to hold off an Akrid wave.
Hey, you know what other game came out this year? Call of Duty Black Ops.
Alright, Connor, but let's stop pretending now. This isn't like Call of Duty Zombies, really. It's just EDF.
I'm just suggesting better games to play from 2010.
because there's like 100 Akrid. And there's so many of them that they're completely filling up the screen. And you're just blasting away and all the orange goo is coming out. And it's just EDF. It just looks like EDF. Because all the enemies are getting stuck on each other. And they can't really attack you because there's too many of them.
Yeah.
It's fucking stupid.
See, it sounds like a great time. But I don't think it was a good time, was it?
It wasn't a great time, but the concept was cool. The Lost Planet 2 experience.
Yeah, this idea, like, now you're in the thick of it. Now you're in the final hard levels of the game. Anyway, so you know how I said that the only people relevant to the story are the ex-NEVEC guys and the sand people?
Yeah.
The Overg is surrounded by a big wall of, like, flesh rock.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, we've got the biggest gun ever devised on this planet. We'll just blow it open. And so they shoot at it.
To be fair, there is a level before that.
What do you do in the level before that?
There's 2 big worms that you have to shoot.
On the train?
No, you do the holdout in the snowy fortress and you have to run to the wall. And on the big map of snow between the fortress and the wall, 2 big tunnel worms come out, and you have to kill both of them before you can do the end of the level. And they have so much health, and what they do is they keep going into the snow and then re-emerging all the way across the field, and there's no VSs on that level. So you just have to keep running to them.
I remember this fucking shit now.
Yeah.
Why is it? Like, I don't remember anything about Lost Planet 2 until you actually jog my memory with saying, like, okay, so this stupid fucking bit, and I'm like, oh, right, this Lost Planet 2.
I know, it took me like 20 minutes of just blasting away at their fucking repoints, because they just keep going back underground and then re-emerging the universe away, and it's like, get back over here, what are you doing? And then after that, the guys blow up the big ice wall with their big cannon or whatever.
Well, they try to with the big cannon.
Yeah.
And then they end up running into an issue where it's like, oh no, it's still up. And they're like, what? And then they just ram it with the train. And it looks like they've nobly sacrificed themselves and killed themselves. And then the ex-NEVEC guys run past one of them who's lying on the floor. And they're like, hey, you alright? And all the guy does is he just like flails his arm to be like, go! Oh!
I'm gonna take out the Overg!
And this is when you go through Cortana from Halo 3, but it's orange. As you just go through this big blob mess of fucking Akrid bullshit. Yeah. And I don't care about the fucking specifics of this one, unless you've got shit to say, because I just remember this being a slog.
I got shit to say.
Alright.
Apparently, this is a level with branching paths, where there are different routes to go through the Akrid wall, and you get different encounters with different factions depending on which way you go.
Really?
Yeah, because one of them leads to the only group of female characters in the entire game who are just the femme fatale faction, just shooting at it, and they're like, guess what? Girls exist.
all the women on EDN III have been relegated to an area of the planet.
Yeah, and the objective is that you're basically going through like the massive blobby mess that is the Overg, and alright, there's a big health bar at the bottom, right? And the idea is that as you're going through these levels, you can take pot shots at the Overg to damage it, so it has less health for the big boss fight against it right at the very end.
Okay, cool idea.
Well,
aren't
you a silly boy?
Oh no.
Aren't you a silly little man?
Oh.
Because once you get to the very end, when you enter the massive cavern which the category G or the Overg has made its home, the boss fight is that it has 3 big tentacles. You shoot the big tentacles until one of them goes black and falls over. You then put a GPS tracker in the tentacle, and it lets the boys up on the station fire the cannon at it.
Yeah.
You cannot damage it. All you are doing is getting its tentacles to go down so you can fire it with the big cannon. So everything you do in the preceding branching path area makes no difference.
What the fuck?
Like, it's completely pointless, because that's not the boss fight.
Oh.
And then after you blow it up, it then regenerates half of its health, and then you have to fire at it for another 5 minutes, and then the game just ends.
Oh, no, they don't fire at it. They crash the space station.
You have to stand there just shooting at it.
Oh,
yeah.
right.
Like, the game makes you watch as the space station slowly falls down. You're just standing there like, I guess I'll keep shooting, and I guess that's all I can do.
It's just like the end of Toy Story. You're just like waiting for like the fucking the incinerator to kill you. And then the snow pirates turn up. And they save you!
Yeah.
They collect you up in their little helicopter boxes and they scoop you away.
Yeah, and then you kind of go to like, the main character, I guess, is like standing in a big pool of thermal energy being like, well, life on this planet is going to get a hell of a lot tougher, but we all made it together. Let's kiss, and then the game ends, I guess.
They all get to drink their tango for the rest of the days.
And that was, my friends, an incredibly extended description of the Lost Planet 2 campaign.
You know, I've actually decided this might be an incredible work of art, Ash.
Oh yeah? And that it's really effective at provoking a sudden emotional reaction from you, which is anger and frustration?
Well, yeah, while playing it, but then once it's over, it's such a fucking relief. Yeah, there was potential with this concept. It could have been something really great, and I just wish that any other studio had made it, because I don't know what these guys were thinking.
You describe this game in a vacuum to someone and it sounds amazing.
Yeah.
Like it's like a mech 4-player co-op action game where you fight massive enemies. It's like, that sounds great.
And if you have played this, it's probably what you're remembering as well, but I have to tell you, like, don't revisit this. Please.
Look what it's done to us.
I had good memories of it at times, and I feel so bitter about it now. I haven't even gotten into the multiplayer.
God, we need to talk about the multiplayer.
Well, maybe not by much. I mean, we haven't been able to play it, for one.
No.
I remember that we played a little bit of it back when we both had Xbox Live back in the day. And
Didn't we play just you versus me, though?
Yeah, it was a 1v1.
It was like Connor 1v1 me in the most honourable arena of all.
Yeah, because you'd somehow unlocked a bunch of weapons at that point. Because you were shooting me with, like, Sniper 3, and I was, like, sitting there with my like, default machine gun, like, what the fuck am I doing? The thing is that this multiplayer component, and this idea that there's medals and that kind of thing, it's trying to give a grind, a loop.
A reason to come back to it.
Yeah, a reason to keep coming back to it. So there's like I've put it down as a customization system that is shockingly plentiful, but not deep.
Well, it has like a lottery system, doesn't it? Like a roulette.
There's some things like weapons that you will unlock just by leveling up the factions that you play as in the campaign, 2 of which you don't even play in the campaign by default. You have to set them as your custom character and play them in either multiplayer or in the campaign later.
Which includes the women faction.
Yeah, the femme fatales. And that's how you unlock some of the new weapons, but everything else you unlock via this roulette system, like a slot machine. Among them are abilities, which are effectively perks, like Call of Duty style perks. Some of them are really weird. Some of them are like trade-offs, where it's something like you deal more damage to enemies, but you take more damage from enemies.
Yeah.
And in some cases, you can fill up both of your perk slots with that same perk, and it doubles the effect.
Okay. And do these apply to the campaign?
They apply to the campaign as well, yeah. But the thing is that there's others that are just objective upsides, like you have more T-energy at the start, or you have more grenades. And it's like, why would I ever not always choose those unless I'm deliberately doing a challenge run?
Yeah.
There's stuff specifically about vital suits. It's like, why would I take this if I end up on a mission that doesn't have vital suits, or like another player takes them all? In multiplayer, I can't see that being a good perk at all.
I guess maybe the idea is that if you're replaying all these missions on different difficulties, because you do get ranked separately on what difficult you're playing on, and if you're trying to get all the good jobs, you'll kind of get like an intimate memory of them.
Yeah.
So you can then specialize your perks for each mission to have the best effect. I just can't imagine playing a multiplayer match in this game where it's with these mechanics and this movement.
Yeah.
It's like doing the Resident Evil 5 versus mode, where you're fighting people and it's just like you run up to each other and then stop to shoot, and it's like, what are we doing?
It's like cowboy dueling. Yeah. There's also character model stuff.
Yeah.
The thing is that I need
to... Albert Wesker.
Yes.
So you can give the femme fatale standing pose.
And of course, you can put on, if you've got the PS3 version, a Helghast, the Scout, the monster. Well, I think it's the Scout from Killzone.
Oh, from Killzone, not from TF2.
But if it was TF2, it would be amazing. As well as Monster Hunter armor. Whereas the Xbox 360 exclusive ones are Marcus Felix and Dominic Santiago from Gears of War. And I love...
Is Albert Wesker in both of them?
I think he's in both of them, yeah. Okay. I love the fact that you can put Marcus Phoenix's skin over the femme fatales and have him do all the girl poses. Yeah, it's brilliant.
It's crazy.
And speaking of poses, taunts. There's a lot of taunts. They're all silly. Like, some of them are designed to communicate with players in the game if you don't have a microphone, but most of them are dances or like Kamen Rider, Dragon Ball Ginyu Force poses to do with your friends. It just makes me think of stuff like Fortnite, and it's just like, well, this game was ahead of the curve, but it just didn't cotton on the same way. And then we have Nommes De Gurre, and there are so many of these. These are just a tagline to put on your player profile that other people can see when they join you in multiplayer.
Yeah.
They are here, I'm pretty sure, just to pad out the slot machines, so you constantly get Nommes De Gurre that you don't want.
Every time you get a Nommes De Gurre, it just breaks your heart. Because you've got to spend, like, resources on spinning that damn roulette.
Yeah, I do think you get some of them through gameplay, but it's like, who the fuck is going to put Machine Gun Novice as their profile thing? Like, oh man, I killed 10 enemies with a machine gun. That's my one achievement in life. But there are some other real kickers. There are great titles in the personality section, and I'm going to name my favorite ones. Mr. Cool.
That's you.
That's me. We're not doing a Mr. Cool tangent. This episode's too long already. I was so ready to talk about Mr. Cool. Mr. Cool is lore for another day.
Mr. Cool will get his day.
But we got Mr. Cool. Sex pots.
Could you imagine cleaning up the Lost Planet 2 multiplayer matches as the sex pot?
Dog lover.
What's your dog level?
Oh, fuck. I mean, I don't have a dog, so it's non-existent.
Yeah.
Loser. You also got hardcore to the max.
We gotta find that guy.
You can also list yourself as troll. Just,
okay.
You know, I guess if you really want to
make it clear. Yeah.
You make it clear, which kind of defeats the point of trolling.
It's like, you gotta tell me if you're a troll.
Yeah, legally you have to tell me you're a troll.
Yeah.
You got wanna fight?
No.
Question mark? Yeah. Well, in multiplayer, yes, that's what we do.
I hope so.
Buffet restaurant patron.
What?
Yeah, I don't know where these come from.
I need the Lost Planet 2 player base to know this about me. These are my two character traits. I eat at buffet restaurants and I play Lost Planet 2.
I mean, we've also got quality time with the family, which, if this is the way... if this has
actually been a rift opening up between me and my father because of our time spent playing Lost Planet 2.
Yeah, no, if this is how you bond with the wife, then
It's like going out and throwing the football around.
Hey, kiddo, you want to have some quality time playing Lost Planet 2? You want to fight the salamander? We've got Real Men Wear Glasses and another one called Glasses Make the Girl.
Where are the glasses?
We've got I'll Kill You If You Die. And
it's like a fucking nuclear bomb that you've dropped right at the end of this podcast.
And the last...
This isn't in the notes.
Bearing in mind, there's more of these. These are only the ones I unlocked through the roulette. The last one I've got here is Yummy Yummy Food in My Tummy.
Which is surprising, since no one in this game eats any food.
Yeah, that's all I've got to say about Lost Planet 2. I think that's where we end it, with Yummy Yummy Food in My Tummy.
And we have a section on the notes which is called Legacy. That is this game's legacy.
It's got that. The only legacy this game really has is people going, that was really neat. I remember that being super good, and then no one ever playing this again because it's not available on PC anymore, which is the prime way for people to revisit things. And a lot of people have sold on their Xboxes and PS3s.
What I want to say, Connor, is that I want to approach this game's legacy from a more intellectual perspective. Which isn't about people playing it in the current day, but more what Lost Planet represents, which is a failure of westernization, basically.
Okay.
It's a game that was trying so desperately to adhere to trends of the time, and I feel like all of its lessons have been completely abandoned, and now Capcom just goes, we'll just make games that are good, and people will buy them.
I imagine that the only lessons that Capcom can take from their games, now to, completely turn them after all the kind things we've said, is just purely from a gameplay perspective, and they looked at every part of gameplay of Lost Planet 2 and just said, just don't bother.
Or they just said to themselves, we'll just try harder to make Monster Hunter work. That'll be easier.
And that's why Monster Hunter World happened, and now Monster Hunter Wilds.
It's a direct line from Lost Planet 2 to Monster Hunter World.
Well, I like to imagine this is part of the domino.
It's part of the circle of life, Lost Planet 2. Shall we move on to our obligations?
Oh, indeed. I think we can just get to rankings.
Yeah, let's do it.
So, Ash, for quality reasons, where would you say this is?
Quality? Low middle.
Really?
This game works mechanically in a way that some of the games that are on this list don't.
I guess that's true.
There's higher highs in this game than in all of Balan.
Really?
I think so.
Actually, yeah.
What are the Balan highs?
Yeah.
Did you fight Salamander?
The guy dances.
That's pretty good, yeah. There's more to like about Lost Planet 2 on the mechanical level. Like the VSs, some of the boss fights, some of the moments are pretty cool. Objectively, it's not the worst game ever made. So it's going to go low middle for me.
No, that's true. You've made a compelling argument for me to agree with you. Otherwise, my gut instinct is to say low, because even if some things are done well, I'm thinking this time I don't judge it by the sum of its parts, and I just say, as a whole package, this really fails at what it wants to do.
I'm not going to fight you if you want to put this really low, because I would agree, but...
I wouldn't. It's not bottom of the list.
What is bottom of the list?
Oh, I mean, I don't think we've talked about those games yet.
Okay. Oh, are we doing this with all the games?
I think about it in the case of all the games.
Okay. I mean, all the games is definitely... It's not as bad as Rise of Nightmares.
No, we did play Rise of Nightmares.
Yeah.
Stay tuned for that one. Yeah, low middle. Fine.
All right.
I agree with you.
Let's shake on it.
Shake on it. Peace in our time.
What's next? Is it interesting?
Yes. How interesting is this game to you?
High middle.
Thank you. Thank you. I remember, like, initially, before we were going to record this, you were like, I just don't think there's anything interesting about this game. And now that we've replayed it...
Yeah, I think replaying it and thinking about when it came out and what it meant for games at the time, and also what the game is like, it's really interesting to think about.
Yeah.
But this is a game that invites discussion, even if it is to discuss how much of a failure it is, you know?
Yeah, like, bad games are fascinating.
Yeah, 100%.
The way they falter, the way they dream, the way that they reach out for something they can't achieve because they're being dragged down by someone else's design.
You can see the beautiful thing that they had in their minds that they thought was going to be amazing and how they failed to capitalize on those potentials, you know?
Yeah.
Like, it's a really fascinating process.
Now, Ash, how much fun did you have playing Lost Planet 2?
Of all the games we've discussed so far, it's bottom.
Mm-hmm.
Bottom. It's the least fun
rock
game.
bottom.
Let's expand that to all the games we've played. It's also bottom.
For the record, we're 64 games into the list, and this is episode 16.
This is 64 out of 64. I fucking had no fun playing this game. This game was so frustrating to me that playing it with you didn't help. I was like, you know what, Connor? I like you less now because I hate this so much.
Oh my god.
I thought it was such a slog. I thought it was so tedious. It just really didn't connect with me in any way. And it was made all the more frustrating by the fact that it could have been something so much better. Like, at least with games like, let's say, like Rise of Nightmares again, or Bug Island, those games weren't going to be anything good. Like, come on, Bug Island. No one's going to make that any fun.
Shadow the Hedgehog.
Shadow the Hedgehog. I mean, that could have been something, I guess, but this game could have been really cool, and it's not, and it frustrates me to no end. It might be, legitimately, my least favorite game of all time.
Oh my god.
Like, it's either that or Resident Evil 6.
I mean, I feel that way about Fates, I suppose.
Yeah.
And that game's, like, mechanically sound. I just hate its guts. No, I mean, the thing is, though, Ash, and I don't know what this says about our dynamic. I feel like this could be seen as real bad to other people. Seeing this reaction from you, and remembering this reaction when we were playing it, I can't bring myself to say this is bottom of the list.
Yeah, I guess that's fair, because I like to think of myself as being quite level-headed and someone who tries to see the good in things. And this game just took... I'm like the Harvey Dent story. This game corrupted my pure, just spirit and made me a bitter, twisted, angry thing. And you take joy from that, because you're a monster.
Well, remember, Ash... I had the original vision of the list going to be us playing just a bunch of bad games. We got 3 or 4 bad games in, and then you were like, Connor, can we play something good? And I was like, fine.
Let's play Haunting Ground.
And I was like, okay, Ash, I thought you said we're playing good games.
Okay, so you're going to put it higher than me.
Only by, like, a little bit.
Okay.
It's not rock bottom, but it's low. It's absolutely low. Like, this really didn't work out the way I dreamed it would.
Yeah, because you were quite optimistic about this being a good time.
I was. I mean, there's been a few games I've been like, oh, this seems like it'll be a grand old time. And then I just like, oh my god, Ash, everyone's lied to me. All my memories.
My very memories. Are they all fabricated?
Yeah, God, it feels like the Matrix is breaking up around me.
Well, Connor, it's maybe not our finest hour, but we have exorcised this demon.
We certainly have. I have to wonder, like, what would we be talking about after this? Like, I mean, I've made you suffer.
Are we going right into it?
I think so.
Well, Connor, let me tell you about a little genre of games that you may not have heard of before. I call it the sad girl game.
Oh, I played this one. It's got the funny gas mask man in it.
No. There's no. You are British.
Okay.
It's more like about the mind, you know? It's more about trauma. It's more about exploring really deep personal themes.
No, that's Signalis. We've also played that.
No, it's set in England during the post-war period.
Yeah, Clock Tower. Listen, there's 2 games out there. Every game can be categorized into 2 categories, Clock Tower 3 and Signalis.
That's it, yeah. Well, I'm not surprised, Connor, that you don't know what game I'm referring to, considering that it was banned by the European Parliament for being the most twisted, fucked up game of all time where there's a rat in it.
What? I didn't think rats were real.
They are in this game, and that's what's so horrible about it.
You mean I can go meet a rat?
You can go... Well, we did go meet a rat. This was in the past, remember?
Oh, right.
We're creating like a fiction here where we don't know what's going on, but you know what we're talking about. A rule of rose. Because we are sad, unfortunate, disgusting people.
Oh.
Will we like it? Find out next time.
I know someone who will. Thank you very much for listening. Obviously, we've gone too long without a sad girl game, so...
How long has it been? 2 episodes? Maybe even 3?
Do we count Resident Evil 2?
Claire's pretty... No, we don't.
Sherry's sad. I don't know. But we can't be going by side characters.
We're going back to that well.
Thank you so much for listening, everybody. This has been an absolute joy. Ash, do you have anything you'd like to plug?
No. Come to my house and chat. I'll make you some tea.
Should I stop asking this?
I guess so. How about you, Connor? What's going on in the world of ThunderPsyker these days?
Well, honestly, I don't know what point in time we're going to be at when this comes out.
What's happening 4 months before this episode comes out?
Who knows? What I will say, though, is that I would love it if you go and visit the web pages of the artists who draw the wonderful art for these episodes.
Yes, we have a new artist for this episode.
We do, yes. I'm very excited to see what she comes up with. Now, won't you join us later for the nightmare that is Rule of Rose? Thank you.
Make sure to observe the rules and bring your butterfly gifts.
I was going to say make good choices, but that's your line.
Make good choices.
Wait. Your line... Wait. Do you do that and chow?
I do that and chow.
Okay, so the episode's going to trail off with that. It's going to be fading in the music while we're doing that.